Good evening, everyone. I now call this March 9th meeting of the Prior Lake Savage Area School Board of Education to order. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance as you're able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All board members are present this evening. I'd like to welcome Student Representative Justin Borg, sitting in for Obie tonight. First up is Laker Pride, Dr. Thomas.
Thank you, Chair Bullion. Tonight, we have some of our Bridges staff and students joining us. Ms. Alexis Serafes and Assistant Principal David Brown will be presenting, and they will be joined by two of our outstanding students with us tonight, Sydney Stauffer and Anastasia Oderick, who will share their experiences and showcase the impact of project-based learning firsthand. Turn it over to you, Dr. Brown.
All right, thank you, Dr. Thomas, Board Chair Bullion, and Board Directors. It is a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you. And I'm super grateful tonight to be here to showcase the instructional and academic excellence through Bridges project-based learning. In 2020, Bridges moved to a project-based learning format as part of our school day after several years studying, carefully considering, and planning for PBL, in addition to visiting several schools that were implementing this format. And so while our current PBL format at Bridges differs significantly from that initial year that we started, as we learned how and understood how PBL works for Bridges, some things remain the same from that first year, such as student engagement in their learning, which increases when there's a high degree of relevancy and authenticness when they see themselves in their curriculum. I'm pleased tonight to invite a couple of our students to showcase their projects, Sydney Stauffer and Anastasia Oderick, to briefly talk about a couple of their projects that they've worked on this year along with their teacher, Ms. Sarah Fayes. So, Anna, you want to go first? Yes. All right, come on up.
Hello, Board Directors. My name is Anastasia Oderick, and I'm here this evening to talk about a PBL that I created at Bridges. PBL stands for Project-Based Learning, and it's something that we work on every day at Bridges. I like PBL because it gives me the opportunity to really explore topics that I don't know about, and I found that it's just a really great way to learn new things and expand my understanding of the world. This specific project is one that I did for a chemistry credit, and it's all about PFAS, which are the compounds also known as forever chemicals. They're called forever chemicals because they take thousands of years to break down, so they end up building up in the environment and inside of the bodies of people and animals. I picked this project because I was interested in doing something with the chemistry of pollution and what makes different substances toxic or bad for the environment. I heard people use the term forever chemicals, but when I started, I didn't know much about it, so I just wanted to learn more about it. Over the course of this project, I learned that PFAS comes from many different sources, including factory waste, car exhaust, and many different plastics. Because they are very stable molecules that don't break down easily, some of these molecules will stay in the air, water, and soil for thousands of years. However, one of the ways that they can be broken down by is plants, which is why it's so important to protect and preserve our largest forests like the ones in Russia, Canada, and northern Minnesota. It was definitely concerning to me to learn about how much PFAS there is in both the environment and inside our bodies. But I'm glad I learned about it and had the opportunity to share what I found. I think that the more people know about this issue, the more people will care, and the more companies will have a reason to create new PFAS-free products, which I think a lot of consumers would want. So that was my PBL last quarter. Right now I'm working on a U.S. history project on the lost cause ideology after the Civil War. I'm looking forward to doing more PBLs in the future. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you like my presentation.
Thank you.
Hello, board members. Thank you for having me this evening. My name is Sydney Stauffer. I'm a senior at Bridges ALC, and today I wanted to share a project that I did through our PBL program. PBL stands for Project-Based Learning, and it's a class where you get to choose a topic that interests you and then work with a teacher to create a project that meets your credit needs around that topic. I've always I've always really liked PBL because it gives me the freedom to organize my learning in a way that works for me and to work more at my own pace. If I'm doing research and I'm feeling stuck, I can pivot and work on the final presentation a bit or shift to a different line of research. For my most recent PBL, I needed a health credit, and I wanted to learn about something that had a personal connection to me. I think the biggest benefit of PBL is that you get to choose a topic that you feel passionate about or interested in, and the teachers will always work with you to make sure you are meeting the right standards. I always struggled to stay locked in on projects at the high school because it was often a big, overwhelming project that I was not interested in. But on this PBL, I was very engaged. I did an overview of Alpha-1, which is a disorder where your body doesn't produce enough protein that helps protect you from environmental stressors. And if you don't have this protein, it puts you at high risk for lung and liver disorders, even if you are otherwise young and healthy. I picked this topic because someone close to me has it, and I wanted to understand her condition better and also make something that would educate others. I actually learned quite a lot from this project. I went from hearing, oh, she just has Alpha-1, to understanding what it means, how it impacts her, and and what can help her to stay healthy. I definitely feel like I learned more about real-life health and wellness from this than I would have from a health textbook, but I'm really happy with it, and I feel like it helped me to connect with this person and help support her. And having this option to choose what I'm interested in through PBL has helped me to engage in a way that I never could before at Bridges. So thank you all for having me here tonight and hearing my presentation and for your support of the Bridges program.
Hello, directors. Just briefly, thank you so much for having us here tonight and for your ongoing support of the Bridges program. I'm very proud to work there and to represent these two young ladies as their PBL advisors. I think project-based learning is one of the big highlights of our program. It emphasizes independent research, critical thinking, problem solving, all skills that help provide a great springboard to post-secondary options, whether that's trades, college, military, or the workforce. Our program continues to help to reduce student dropouts and increase graduation rates, and we're very, very proud of the community that we have at our building. Thank you so much again for your time tonight and for your continued support.
Thank you.
I have some certificates for you.
And I'll just conclude by saying thank you to our students' parents who joined us tonight, as well as our Strive mentors who are here tonight. We partner with Prior Lake Rotary in a great program. So our students speak for themselves, and I'd just like to relay and emphasize thank you so much for your support.
Students don't leave quite yet. I got some certificates for
Quite
you.
yet, students.
All right.
We're told there were pictures.
The pictures will be over this way. And, let's see. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Good to see you again. There you go. All right.
Thank you
And then
so much.
Step out here. We'll grab your picture right over here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
guys.
It's wonderful. All right, next up on the agenda is the superintendent report. Dr. Thomas.
Thank you, Chair Bullion. Just a couple of quick things this evening. One, just want to remind everyone in our community about our annual surveys. On February 23rd, we opened up the window for our annual staff, student, and family stakeholder survey window. The survey is open through this Friday, so if you haven't taken it, please make sure you do so. It's very good information for us. The results will be shared at the April 27th board study session, and we'll also report those back out, to our community that we do every year. I anticipate a couple of board directors will talk about MSBA Day at the Capitol, so I'll defer to those of you to speak to that. And then just to foreshadow, coming up April 13th, there will be the AMSD Day at the Capitol as well. That I'll be attending. And then lastly, every year in the spring we do a realtor meeting, and part of this will be coming up on April 29th. And part of what we're trying to understand is kind of building off some of the engagement that we've been doing around our budget, as well as potential levy conversations with our community to get their perspectives, but also understanding kind of what's happening as we're seeing changes in the real estate market, interest rates changing. Do they see anything on the horizon that we haven't been learning from our city partners as well? So that will be coming up on April 29th, and those are my quick reports.
Very good. Next up, we have some proclamations. We'll maybe the directors can read it. We'll start with Director Olstad. First proclamation is on National Assistant Principals and Deans Appreciation Week. Dr. Anderson, do you have something to say for that?
I'd be happy to say a number of things after the proclamation.
Very good, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Anderson.
Okay. All right, thank you. Prior Lake Savage Area Schools recognizes April 6th through 10th, 2026 as Assistant Principal and Dean Appreciation Week. Our assistant principals and deans provide essential support to our more than 8,600 PLSAS students and more than 1,300 employees. This week, we celebrate our thanks and gratitude for these essential leaders. Whereas Prior Lake Savage Area Schools employs 5 assistant principals and 11 deans. Whereas assistant principals and deans are vital members of their respective buildings and the broader district leadership teams, instructional leaders to students and staff, culture and community builders, facility managers, special program managers, and are entrusted with the education and development of young people. Whereas assistant principals and deans provide students with opportunities and guidance to ensure their success and development as positive contributors to our schools and broader community. Whereas assistant principals and deans inspire a passion for learning. Whereas assistant principals and deans work with all stakeholders to foster a sense of community and pride within our schools and district. Therefore, let it be resolved, the Board of Education hereby extends its appreciation to assistant principals and deans for supporting the education of our students and proclaims April 6th through 10th, 2026 to be Assistant Principals and Deans Appreciation Week in Prior Lake Savage Area Schools.
Thank you.
Well, once again, good evening, Chair Bullion, Superintendent, and board members. A brief word to underscore that proclamation, which said volumes about the role that these folks play, those assistant principals and deans. One of the reasons I appreciate the work of that group of team members is, as a former dean and assistant principal, I know about the very many hats that those folks have to wear, and sometimes those efforts are seen as reflected in the proclamation. You know, you talked about supporting instructional leadership, members of building leadership teams, culture builders, fostering a sense of community or helping to do that. Student mentorship, there's countless ways that those folks get to provide formal and informal support for our learners on their journey. And certainly operational excellence. There's a funny smell coming from the Fayette area. We will deploy one of those people to go help solve that problem. I remember with great fondness my duties to be the parking lot czar at the high school level, and not always are you thanked for your service in those roles. You sometimes are positioned to not be thanked, quite the opposite. So I just appreciate, and we do, I think, the support role that these folks play and the many hats that they wear. So we really are grateful for their service, and thanks for the opportunity to share about them.
Thank you so much. Next up, the proclamation is for the Media Specialist Week. Director Mason, would you read that?
Sure. Prior Lake Savage Area Schools recognizes April 6th through the 10th, 2026 as Media Specialist Appreciation Week. Our media specialists provide media support and guidance for our more than 8,600 students, preparing them for success in a globally competitive world. This week, we celebrate our thanks and gratitude for these essential staff. Whereas media specialists provide guidance to students through print media, literature, digital resources, and technology. Whereas media specialists provide professional development and support to teachers and other school and district staff. Whereas, sorry, I lost my spot. Whereas media specialists set students up for success in their future education and careers by teaching them how to search for and research information. Whereas media specialists support students in their use of technology to help create equitable access for all students and to empower and enhance the teaching and learning experience. Whereas media specialists are a wealth of knowledge and information who come up with creative ways to teach and connect with students. Therefore, let it be resolved, the Board of Education hereby extends its appreciation to all Prior Lake Savage Area Schools media specialists for supporting the education of our students and staff, and declares April 6th through the 10th, 2026 to Media Specialist Appreciation Week in the Prior Lake Savage Area Schools.
Thank you. Director Pothern.
Thank you, Chair Bowling, Superintendent, and Board Directors. On behalf of the district, we want to express sincere appreciation to our media specialists and our media support paraprofessionals for the knowledge, care, and daily support they provide to students and staff. Their contributions positively shape learning experiences across our district, and we are truly grateful.
Thank you. Our next proclamation is on Unity Appreciation Week. Director Atkinson, would you read that?
Sure, thank you. Whereas the month of April is Celebrate Diversity Month, a time to recognize, honor, and celebrate the diversity surrounding us. Whereas each student brings unique strengths, talents, and needs to the classroom, and student success depends upon ensuring that every learner has access to the opportunities, supports, and resources necessary to reach their full potential. And whereas educators and support staff across our district, including teachers, support staff, counselors, paraprofessionals, cultural liaisons, specialists, administrators, and many others work each day to help ensure that students receive what they uniquely need to learn, grow, and succeed. And whereas these dedicated professionals build meaningful relationships with students and help families help remove barriers to learning and foster school environments where every student feels welcomed, respected, and supported. And whereas their commitment helps ensure that all students have opportunities to experience belonging, engagement, and academic success in our schools. Therefore, let it be resolved that we express our dear appreciation to the educators and staff members who dedicate their talents, compassion, and expertise to supporting the success of every student. Through their work, our schools continue to grow as places where every learner is seen, valued, and heard as we pursue our common goals together. And Unity Appreciation Week is also celebrated April 6th through the 10th.
Thank you. Dr. Thomas.
Thank you, Board, and I also want to just echo a lot of the sentiments from the proclamation and thank our staff who work tirelessly to ensure that our students' needs are met. You know, when I came here, we were having conversations about equity, and I came with a very simple definition of what that really means for folks, and that is to give every student and staff what they uniquely need to be successful. And that is something that we are proud of, and we have countless staff who are committed to doing that every single day, as well as many of us who are supporting our staff and ensuring that they're getting everything that they need. This is actually a message that I shared last week when I was doing some leadership conversations at the middle school, that as a superintendent, my job is to be the lead learner and to make sure everybody has what they need to be successful. And again, during this week and aligning to our strategic our core belief of unity, this is where we come together as a learning community, irrespective of the perspectives that we might have, the beliefs that we have, the families that we have, the languages that we speak, you name it. We all come here to get the best and to be successful. So thank you to all of our staff who are committed to seeing this out every single day.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. The next proclamation is National Occupational Therapist Month. Director Johnson, would you read that, please?
Prior Lake Savage Area Schools recognizes April 2026 as National Occupational Therapy Month, celebrating the vital role occupational therapists play in supporting student success. Whereas the school board acknowledges the invaluable contributions of occupational therapists to student learning and well-being. And whereas occupational therapists help students overcome physical, cognitive, sensory, and emotional challenges to fully participate in school, and whereas occupational therapists collaborate with educators, families, and staff to design individual supports that build independence and engagement in daily school routine. And whereas they, through initiative, inclusive, and evidence-based practices, occupational therapists encounter students to thrive in academic and social settings. Now, therefore, the Board of Education proclaims April 2026 as National Occupational Therapy Month in Prior Lake Savage Area Schools and extends sincere appreciation to all occupational therapists for their outstanding service to students.
Thank you. Dr. Thomas.
Yeah, thank you. And on behalf of all of us here in the district, I do want to say thank you to our occupational therapists, kind of allowing, tying back to our previous proclamation, These staff are absolutely instrumental in removing barriers for students to actively engage in their learning. And for any of us who have ever been through occupational therapy, maybe due to an injury or something like that nature, you know the critical work that they play to getting us acclimated back into, our daily living experiences. And I think with the support that they provide to our students every single day, they are allowing students to access high quality learning and to fully participate in that learning experience. So thank you so much for everything that you all do.
Thank you. Next up is open forum. This time is set aside to receive citizen input. Citizen input is important to our governance role in serving our students, staff, and community. We thank you for your engagement with the board, and we ask that speakers respect the 3-minute time limit and that you please speak in the manner that you prefer being spoken to. Our first speaker tonight is Lauren Harding.
All right. Good evening, and thank you, Board Chair Boulian, Dr. Thomas, and board members. My name is Lauren. I'm a parent of children in this district, and I'm a resident of Prior Lake. I'm here tonight because academic excellence has become a hollow slogan in this room. You cannot claim excellence is your priority while you're resisting the fundamental investments that are required to achieve it. The reality is, our reading and math specialists are stretched to the breaking point. Our teachers are drowning in overcrowded classrooms. They are performing heroic work, but we're asking them to provide individualized attention while denying them resources to do so. We are asking them to swim while refusing to throw them a life vest. Let's talk about these extras. I hear frustration over the field trips, the programs that are being scaled back or even cut entirely. We all value those experiences. And we all have programs like that that are important to us. But we can't continue to prioritize the extras while the essentials are crumbling. The district has been very transparent about our financial needs. There's an entire website on the district page dedicated to this information. You can't continue to sit back and claim ignorance. Director Ryder has been quite open and honest. She's she's providing information in a straightforward manner. I am no financial expert, but if I can follow her data, you guys should be able to as well. You certainly cannot continue to push your personal agendas and suggest that we don't need more funding after everything that has been shared about the state of this district. Our district needs more money. That's it, that's simple. We need more money to get smaller class sizes. We need more money to support our specialists. We need more money so that our educators feel supported and not abandoned. This is my ask of the board. Please, stop the empty rhetoric. You were elected to serve families, all families, not just the ones who voted for you. Stop working against the district's needs. You were elected to work with the district, to support our schools, to support our teachers, to support our children, my children, all of our children. Start listening to the teachers who are in the trenches every day, who invest in people who actually make learning happen, the people who actually care about our children's education. I will continue to show up. I will continue to be loud. Our children are counting on you guys to put their success above any of your politics. So do the job that you were elected to do. Thank you.
All right, the next speaker is Don Lenio? Lenio, sorry, Don.
No, that's okay. Very close. All right. Good evening. I missed the last study session meeting, and I am just the kind of dork that watches it back online when I'm not here. So one of the conversations, comment mentioned by one of our school board directors was that there are kids in our district who will never, ever set their feet in skis. Their parents don't ski, and they don't have the resources. And that we're giving our students an opportunity outside of the classroom to do something that is a lifelong skill. So And sorry, I skipped over. I'm Dawn Lenio. I am a district parent. I have 2 children in elementary school, 3rd and 5th grade, and we are proud to be Lakers. And I just wanted to say, what about reading? What about the children who have never read at grade level and their parents don't have the resources to get them reading help outside of school? Teaching our students to read is giving them an opportunity to do something that is a lifelong skill. I think that if we're going to talk about board budget priorities, we maybe need to arrange our priorities to be the right things. Thank you.
Next speaker is Ashley Schaefer.
Good evening and thank you. I am Ashley Schaefer. I am a Prior Lake resident and district parent to a daughter at Twin Oaks and to Ellie, a 4th grader at Jeffers Pond. I have 2 related topics I would like to speak on. The first is the language arts curriculum pilot. Ellie has been a part of the arts and letters and morphology pilots, and she would like to share her feedback.
Hi, my name is Ellie, and I want to tell you about arts and letters. I like writing summaries and revising with my friends because I find it helpful to get other points of view. I feel like I am more engaged in the characters in my books, and I like that other subjects are covered, like health and history. I like the mix of writing and reading because it gives me breaks so I stay focused. I really like arts and letters, and I hope we get to keep doing it.
As a parent, I've seen a marked improvement in Ellie's understanding of what she is reading, being able to connect content across texts, and her overall interest in reading. I know that pilots are costly and time-consuming for the district and teachers, so we wanted to make sure to share our enthusiasm for the curriculum and our appreciation for the work being done to support academic excellence. The second topic I wanted to touch on is the topic of academic excellence and field trips. I know that the past few years have required incredibly hard decisions. Facing $4 million in cuts year after year means there are no easy choices, and I appreciate the thought and care that goes into balancing those priorities. Like many families, we love field trips and other enrichment experiences. They can inspire students and make school memorable. But when we're forced to make trade-offs, I believe we have to prioritize the things that most directly support student learning if we are going to follow our strategic plan. Research consistently shows that class size is one of the most important factors in educational success, especially in elementary grades. The landmark Tennessee STAR study followed more than 6,000 students and found that students in smaller classes significantly academically outperformed those in larger classes, and those benefits lasted all the way through high school. Smaller classes allow teachers to provide individual attention, build relationships with students, and identify learning needs early. When class sizes grow, it becomes harder for even the best teachers to meet every student where they are. In addition to class size, academic specialists, reading specialists, interventionists, and other support staff play a critical role in helping students succeed. These positions directly support the district's strategic plan and academic excellence. My kids and I love field trips and the experiences they provide, but I feel strong instruction, manageable class sizes, and targeted academic support must remain the #1 goal for the district. As the district continues making difficult budget decisions and discusses another taxpayer levy, which my family will support, I encourage the board to focus on the things that most directly impact student learning first: reasonable class sizes and the academic professionals who support our students every day. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on, I will entertain a motion and a second for approving the agenda tonight.
So made.
Second.
By Director Atkinson and Director France. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 7-0. Next up is the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed as a consent agenda item and addressed. Does anyone have anything to remove from the consent agenda tonight? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
So made.
By Director Smith and Director Olsted. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 7-0. All right. Let me find where I am. Is it resolution? Okay, next up on the agenda is the resolution for acceptance of gifts. We have a few gifts this evening. The first one is from the Prior Lake Savage Optimist Club in the amount of $500 for the PLHS Unified Club in support of programs. The next donor is Lester and Janet Shalm in the amount of $25 for Everybody's Playground. And the next donor is Laker Promotions, Tracy Fleming, in the amount of $790.90 for Everybody's Playground. Accepting donations is done by a roll call vote. Do I need to take a motion and a second for that?
Do.
Can I have
I'll make a motion.
Director Johnson?
Second.
And Director Olstad?
Mason.
Oh, and Director Mason, thank you.
We sound very alike.
And I'll start with you, Director Atkinson?
Thank you for your generous donations. Aye.
Yes. Director Johnson?
Aye.
Director Mason? Aye. Director Olstad?
Aye.
Director France?
Aye.
Director Smith?
Aye.
And aye, that passes 7-0. Thank you for the generous donations, yes, indeed. Next up on the agenda is personnel items, and that goes to Director Cothern. None at that time, this time, all right, thank you. No unfinished business at this time. Next item is the proposed names for the DSC Community Ed and Transitions Program at Greenwood. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. Dr. Thomas?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Board. This evening, you have attached in the board agenda the proposed names that we have for the new co-located building. And having conversations with programmatic staff and DSE service staff, community education staff, we've landed on a name for Educational Services Center at Greenwood, keeping in the same name moniker of at Greenwood. But Educational Services Center, we feel, captures everything that we might be doing around educational support. So whether it's through our community ed programs and our district services that we currently offer, we felt that that would bring everything together under one roof there. Within that same building, sorry, I'm a little out of sequence here. This is where we'll be supporting our transitions program, and so we have had conversations with our Special Education Advisory Council to get some perspective on what that could be called, and that will be called Laker Launch, which stands for Lifelong Learning, Achieving Dreams, Unveiling Potential, Cultivating Independence, and Heading for a Bright Future, of which every single one of those students are destined for. So we are recommending that we call that program Laker Launch. And then as we transition La Ola from Greenwood, we would like to keep the same name moniker of La Ola, but now at Westwood. So those are the recommendations that we have before the board.
Thank you for that, Dr. Thomas. I'll entertain a motion and a second.
So made.
By Director France.
Second.
By Director Smith. Is there any discussion? Questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 7-0. Next item for action is the 3-year Achievement and Integration Plan approval. I will entertain a motion and a second for that.
So made.
By Director France.
Second?
Second by Director Olstad. Is there any discussion? Hearing none.
I have a few things that I'd like to add. Yeah.
Director Atkinson.
Sure. First of all, I would like to begin to acknowledge the time and the effort that went into developing this Achievement and Integration Plan. Oh, I'm sorry. That's okay. Sorry, I thought we I thought we were doing something else. Okay, sorry about that. I appreciate all the work that's gone into this plan. However, as I shared during our study session, I have a significant concern with the plan as it is written. My concern is that the plan lacks a clear explanation of what the deans and cultural liaisons will specifically do to create programs or services that directly benefit students. 80% of this budget is allocated to administrative roles rather than to innovative programming for students. If we are dedicating this level of funding to these positions, we should also be able to clearly articulate what new opportunities, programs, or learning experiences students will receive as a direct result. For example, another district uses A&I funds to support the JA BizTown, a program our district previously participated in before COVID. BizTown gives students hands-on experience with career exploration, financial literacy, leadership, and civic engagement. Students spend weeks preparing in the classroom and then participate in a day-long immersive experience where they run a simulated city, working in one of 18 different businesses. Programs like this give students real-world skills and meaningful learning opportunities. That is the type of direct student impact A&I funding was designed to support. Another opportunity aligns with our district's commitment to eSTEM. A&I funds can be used to build a stronger STEM framework by partnering with organizations such as SciMath Minnesota, or by implementing programs like Engineering is Elementary. These types of initiatives can increase student engagement, strengthen proficiency, and expand access to STEM opportunities for students who have historically been underrepresented in these fields. A third example comes directly from Minnesota Department of Education guidance, providing differentiated instruction and interventionist support to help identify students who are traditionally underrepresented and gifted and talented programs. With the removal of the SAGE program and our district's commitment to strengthening gifted and talented services, investing in additional elementary level gifted and talented staff would ensure students who are often overlooked are identified and supported so they can reach their full potential. We also heard in our town hall meetings just recently, and we'll hear more about it in the balance of our agenda, our community strongly supports advanced learning opportunities and gifted and talented programs. This aligns directly with our strategic plan focus on academic excellence, which calls for challenging, rigorous, and relevant instruction that meets the unique learning needs of every student. While this plan is better aligned with our strategic plan than I've seen in the past, my concern is that primarily funding the same positions, deans and cultural liaisons, versus interventionalists or reading specialists, without introducing new student-centered program, we risk seeing the same results as we've seen before. For these reasons, I cannot support the plan in its current form. Achievement and integration funding should prioritize innovative programs and meaningful learning opportunities that have a clear and measurable impact on students. If we are truly committed to improving student outcomes, then these resources must be clearly connected to opportunities that students can see, experience, and benefit from directly, not just positions in a budget. Our students deserve more than a continuation of what we've done before. They deserve bold investments that expand opportunity, strengthen learning, and prepare them for their future. Thank you.
Any other directors have questions or comments? Director Smith.
Yes, thank you. So a couple of things come to mind when I am thinking about this proposal and reviewing it. We have at this table repeatedly asked the district to improve proficiency within our reading scores, to address the gaps in proficiency with reading scores. We have discussed reading scores endlessly with the district and with the team. To have a proposal that specifically focuses on K-3 reading, where it is, again, statistically shown that that is going to be the most impactful, not only for the individuals immediately receiving it, but well into the future, therefore avoiding having students perhaps needing additional resources because we invested early on. So it's not only academic excellence that this plan would be achieving, but also it would be fiscally responsible and optimizing resources because we're focusing on now and then in the future, we're not having to use additional resources to catch people up because we've addressed it early on. I say all of that to bring about the notion that if this is what we have asked the district to do, to focus on reading, to address reading proficiencies, if we are not voting for this plan that the district has specifically put together to address K through 3 reading in the classrooms and reading proficiency throughout our buildings, then I don't know what we're doing here, I'll be honest. I think it is very important that not only do we acknowledge the work that was put into this, but we also acknowledge that we are not the experts here. And I don't know how more specific the district can be when it comes to what this plan is outlining. We are at the 30,000-foot view right now. So for me, this is about as specific as this plan can get. And after its approval, if it is approved, which I strongly believe it should, we are in a place where that does go down to the district leaders, to those build teams, to folks who are tasked with implementing this plan to work on those tactics, to implement them and to work them into their work plans so that they are able to deliver on these specific targets. We are only a couple of months removed from this board advocating to have increased reading proficiency added to its board goals. The district is saying we want to increase reading proficiency and here's how we're going to do it and here's how much we're going to improve it and here's when we're going to improve it. Those are SMART goals. This is academic excellence. This is optimizing resources. This is fiscal responsibility. I don't see any reason why we should be voting against this. I think this is a very sound plan, and it is up to the district to execute it, yes, but we are not here to judge them on those merits right now. We are here to judge the merits of this proposal and not rewrite it at the board table. So with that, I would strongly endorse voting for this proposal.
Any other directors? Yeah, Director Mason.
Yeah, I guess I would like to just, counter that a little bit. So I agree the student success coaches in the elementary schools is a great idea, but that's 69,000 of the 993,000 that we're spending on this plan. So I do appreciate all the work that went into this, but I feel like I'm disappointed by it. I feel like it's a missed opportunity for our students. We get this planning cycle every 3 years, and with the additional revenue, it presented a meaningful opportunity to make some changes and focus on, improving some of the academic outcomes for these students. I think it's important to acknowledge that the A&I plan from the past 3 years has not achieved the intended goals, nor has it significantly reduced.
Point of order, may I ask, it has achieved the goals that was addressed by Dr. Thomas in an email to the board. It did not fail in its goals.
That's not the case. We went through the A&I goals a couple meetings ago.
That's November, yeah.
Yeah, and they were not.
What specifically did we fail?
I don't have it in front of me, but we can pull it up. It's in November meeting.
Per the point of order, Dr. Thomas,
Yeah,
or
it's not.
the chair is supposed to answer the point of order or point of clarification, just for point of order.
So if I may, last meeting that we had, this same assertion was made. And again, when we talk about the goals that were tied to the current plan, there were several goals that I referenced, and I noted that we have a couple of our goals that were on our committed and caring conversations with some of the community unrest that did get slowed in terms of the ability to meet some of that due to comfort levels of families and whatnot. The goal around our American Indian students' attendance was met. The four-year graduation rate for Black students and Hispanic students was noted to be on track. Our continued proportionality in AP courses with underrepresented populations was still showing on track. Our staff development around incorporating strategies relevant and responsive to unique learners goal was noted as met. So there was nothing that we reported in our November report specifically to the goals tied to the ANI plan approved by the state outside of some of the student and family engagement components due to some of the unrest that was occurring in our communities. So outside of that, that's the context that I shared with the board last Friday night and a couple weeks ago.
Right, so, sorry, all of the November CACR goals that were related to academics and those numbers were not met on that report last November, so that's what I was referring to. So, sorry if I can continue, but, you know, I think we just haven't significantly reduced or made progress in reducing achievement gaps, which is the overall purpose of this ANI plan. And I think given those outcomes, I would like to see more substantial changes into what we're doing to drive measurable improvement. A large portion, significant portion of this budget that we have for ANI is allocated to student support staff, so 300 and some thousand to deans and 263,000 for benefits alone, for employee benefits. You know, those new investment positions were added 3 years ago. And again, with all the data that we've been getting, whether it's been academic performance or behavior or attendance, we haven't seen meaningful improvement. Continuing to invest in that same approach just raises the question for me of whether we should expect any different outcomes. I also, you know, reading the guidance from MDE, it indicates that admin costs within the ANI plan should generally not exceed the 10% mark. While it may be up for interpretation on what's admin or student support staff, it does state that those costs include salaries and benefits for support staff who do not provide direct instruction within the ANI activities. You know, this current proposed plan with that is nearly 60% of the budget. So I would just strongly encourage the district to shift more of a focus towards strategies that directly align with student learning and instruction. So I would advocate for more student success coaches to all the elementaries, not just 3 of them, because I agree that you know, helps strengthen that foundational literacy. I would love to see that expanded. I would love to see increased access to tutors and mentors and providing targeted academic support. I would love to see strengthen gifted and talented programming to better serve some of these students and expanding STEM opportunities. So, yeah, I mean, I also am not supportive of this plan for those reasons, and I really hope the board would consider just taking more time to kind of strengthen the overall plan.
Other board members?
Director Mason,
Johnson.
thank you. Director Mason hit a lot of my points. I think we heard it tonight from our speakers that they wanted academic excellence, and this has a lot of points in it. I think Director Mason hit it home that there's a lot of staff in here, not a lot of academics.
Anyone else?
May I just ask a question? Director Mason mentioned that this should be going towards improving academic outcomes. Besides reading, I would wonder what we would point to as improving academic outcomes.
Well,
That is an academic outcome.
I agree, and I would like more of it versus some of the other, you know, other items that are allocated from the budget. So I'm advocating for more student success coaches for other things. Again, I think that the massive piece of this funding is to support staff that don't directly educate our students. And, you know, not that they're not valuable, but we've tried that for the past 3 years. It hasn't made a significant difference. So, I mean, again, I realize that we're just, you know, trying to focus on certain things with this particular funding. And that's where I would advocate for some change.
So just to continue my point, so this is different from the last A&I proposal. Dr. Thomas just spoke to some of the things that were in the last A&I proposal, which were graduation rates, community conversations, things of that nature. This is a very pointed and targeted proposal that looks at K through 3 classrooms. And I do want to give Dr. Thomas, I have just 2 questions. It was stated about the 10% threshold for administrative. I was wondering if we could get some clarification on that. And then additionally, it was said that this only supports 3 schools. I just want to get some clarification on that as well.
So the positions that are in this plan are coded at the state level as direct student support. They are direct student facing, and there is a combination of roles that do both the academic support, the community and family engagement support, as well as the overall student engagement and attendance support, as well as behavioral components as well. Lots of these roles are tied to a larger infrastructure within our schools of our student assistant teams. And the reason that we're integrating this, and I think this was a question that came in over the weekend, was, when I came in several years ago and even had to make some really challenging decisions of reworking some of our resources to remove some of the administrative costs of having a coordinator of this, and then redistributing that administrative coordination amongst the senior leadership team. That came with a lot of controversy. And it's not something that I wanted to do, but again, given the fact that we had an opportunity to reduce administrative overhead, which was actually coded as admin at the state level, that is something that we pushed into our student success coaches. So the positions that you see here are coded and approved at the state level as direct student support. And then, yes, we service all schools. So we have deans at every one of our schools. A portion of those deans have job assignments that align to the aspects of this plan. We do have success coaches that, based upon school data review, they would be assigned based upon the 3 highest need schools in terms of where we see our gaps. And then our liaisons service the entire district and really serve of helping reduce some of those family linguistic barriers of access. And then all of them have access to supporting some of our our students that qualify for free and reduced lunch as well. And so I think I might have answered the 2 points that you needed information.
Thank you.
Any other members? Director France?
I just would highly encourage the community to actually read through this. As you'll notice that all of our buildings, all of our schools are actually mentioned. It not only talks about reading, which is a very important thing that we've been trying and working on, as you can hear from the open forum, but also you'll see the other descriptions in here about improving access to AP and the college and schools, and how we've met our goals in each of the previous years, or we're on track to meet those goals. And education is not something that you just buy a book, basically, and not have staff to actually teach the book or the course or support the student. So there's some common sense here. And of course, the benefits, whenever you allocate a portion of somebody's time, you allocate their salary, which includes their benefits. So all of that is pretty well laid out in here. And if anyone has any questions, then please read through it and then discuss it with the administration. But this is a far more directed A&I plan than we've had before, even though the ones before were trying to figure out programs, and of course we were dealing with COVID and stuff like that. We still met nearly all or exceeded some of the goals. And I'm glad that we have the opportunity to get this funding from the state. We desperately need the funding. Our financials need it, and our students need it, and they definitely benefit from it. So I just want to say thank you for putting the plan together. Thank you for making it so prescriptive, and more so as we find out what we want to really focus on to continue those improvements. And thanks to the state for providing us this extra money that is so desperately needed to help our students.
Dr. Olson, do you have anything to say?
Yes.
Add?
Yes, and I think that what's important to remember too, that's new for this plan is that it's not grand scheme of things, right? But hey, more is more. We got a little bit more this go round. What was it, like $1,010,000 or something like that?
It's about 10,000.
10,000.
15,000.
Yeah. So I think that speaks to that as well. And I just wanted to point out that we had a director of equity and inclusion who, in lieu of that, we created or made 2 more direct to classroom people. 3, thank you. So I think that's worth noting, that plans can shift and be revised within reason and within what we can do, obviously. But I think that speaks to realizing where the needs were and revising to compensate for that. So that's appreciated. So I also agree that this plan is, I think it's really well done, and I look forward to hearing how it goes. So thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Representative.
Yes, hi, I'm Justin Borg. I'm filling in for Obi today. I was just reading over the narrative description of this plan, and I just so happened to read over the implementation of more structural supports for AP and trying to emphasize the identification of students with academic potential. I was a student at Twin Oaks, and I was originally enrolled in General Science 7. And Ms. Fasking actually was able to identify that I should have been placed in advanced. And because of her, I have been able to move on and forward onto more advanced courses and AP courses in high school. And I've taken every AP course that I have had the opportunity to be able to take. And if it wasn't for Ms. Fasking and other educators and directors that have pushed me towards advanced placement, this definitely I could see help other people and students from just reading over the narrative description. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Bullen, I'd just like to add, in addition to that, that's exactly what I was trying to communicate with the identification specialists at an earlier age at the elementary level for our SAGE program, because we no longer know, I don't know if you're aware, but we do no longer have the SAGE program. Yes. So if we were to take some of the funding that we use for the deans, and we could put them into specialists who are either differentiates, I can't say the word, or interventional specialists at the elementary level, we identify those students who may get missed at an earlier age. And so while I agree that this plan is a lot better than where we were in the past, I won't deny that, my concern is the amount of money that we are receiving and putting towards, like I said, the deans particularly. If that funding could be put towards, like I said, differentiate specialists, interventionalists, I feel that that would better serve our students. My concern also is that while this is additional revenue, and there is a lot of flexibility, as you can see, how we can use the funding based on the 3 examples that I gave. These are in other districts' plans, or even on the MDE website. My concern is we are getting a substantial amount of revenue for READ Act. And so it says particularly in Minnesota statute 124D, that the revenue that we receive must be used for innovative and integrated learning environments. And so I understand the role of the dean, but what I feel is lacking in this plan is what are they going to do to create that innovative and integrated learning environment to help our students succeed.
Dr. Thomas.
Okay. Yeah, so, we actually have, I think, a dean or so here this evening, correct? 2 of our deans are here this evening. I saw a couple of them out there. If either one of you wouldn't mind coming forward to just talk a little bit about the roles that you play. I know we had a dean here 2 weeks ago that talked a little bit about the engagement aspects at Red Tail. But more specifically, when we know that we have students who may have barriers to their learning, may have barriers to being engaged in the learning environment, with the additional resources that we brought in around that aspect of the scopes of your roles, if you could just speak to some of that so that they can, the board and our community can understand, boots on the ground, how this actually has been transformative in some of the work that you're doing.
Sure. Good evening, I'm Lindsay Comstock. I am a dean at Glendale. And one of the huge main parts of our role as a dean is we really set the groundwork for students so that they are able to learn, right? We know that if students aren't in the right mind space to be able to learn, that they aren't going to be able to learn, and we won't see that academic excellence. So we do a lot of supporting students throughout the day, and that looks like a lot of different things. It looks like going into classrooms and helping support. It looks like meeting with students in small groups, meeting with students one-on-one. It looks like doing a check-in and a check-out with students throughout the day and, throughout the school K-5, variety of students. It looks like a lot of different things, as well as really building relationships with students so that they feel safe, comfortable, and welcome at school so that they are able to do their best learning and achieve that academic excellence.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Alan Thompson, very, very proud Dean of Students at Westwood Elementary. Couldn't have landed in a better place. When I showed up, went around to meet staff the first week, I said, what can you tell me about Westwood? They said, this is magical. And I heard that from over 5 staff, and I thought it was a setup, but it wasn't. That's what every teacher thinks, every staff thought, and I'm like, wow, this is a great place to land. And I committed right then and there to work for students and to support staff in every way possible. And my role, and I think every dean's role in every building that we have here in Prior Lake or building in the state, country, can look subtly different based on what the students need and based what we're seeing and basing what the information, the data we're gathering from staff and students and families. So like Lindsay said, we are very face direct with students. We are covering needs that aren't necessarily written or specified in plans. We are making sure that students are safe, they're secure, they're supported, and we're working towards their well-being in every way we see possible. And sometimes the dean might be a dean here, might be a success coach in another district. Titles can change, titles can vary. Our job is to do and meet with every single student that we see and get them to be in a safe and secure place, mindset, emotionally, mentally, every way we can. And we don't stop that until we're seeing success. A lot of times I'm seeing students in small numbers. I'm seeing students one-on-one. I took a student in my office that was struggling at the beginning here just to integrate with their classroom. Student has special needs, has the skills and abilities, but not the security to be vulnerable in front of students and staff. She likes to tell me poems, and she likes to read me stories, and she likes to sing me songs, and she thinks I'm weird because we sing songs together, but she loves being weird. And she wrote me a song, literally on paper. It was about a fox. So I went to the teacher. I said, she just wrote me this story. And they had just read a book in second grade about a fox. And then from that point on, she's writing in class. She's reading and writing in class. That's just one example of kind of what we do around Prior Lake. So happy to be here. If you have any other questions or you're wondering what deans do, what our role is, come visit. If you come to Westwood and you come to the office, you'll rarely see me because I'm out in the halls, I'm out in the playground, climbing the spider web with kids. I'm in classrooms working one-on-one, like I said, small groups. So yeah, appreciate the visit. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Bullion. Just in closing, I want to acknowledge the perspectives, the questions that many of you had, and some of the conversation here this evening. This is really critical work and consequential work. So I appreciate the inquiry and the wonderings about how we are maximizing the resources that we have to ensure that we get those outcomes and those results. And I do also appreciate that you see a very tight scope and a very narrowed focus. I am not above fairs, food, and festivals, and those types of things that you oftentimes see with a lot of some of the work that has been surrounding A&I over the years. The state has also tightened the reins around that. They really want to see, how we get a laser focus and not just do these additional things. And how when we have programs or staff that they have a direct connection to our infrastructure, because that has to be the constant that carries every single student, across, that finish line for them. And so I appreciate, hearing some of that perspective tonight. And I also want to say that there are opportunities within this grant, and we have resources held available as contract and community supports. I spoke last week or 2 weeks ago a little bit about, partnerships such as Junior Achievement and other types of community partnerships. That still can exist and support this plan. They're not specifically written because we know over the course of 3 years, things may ebb and flow and change. It gives us greater flexibility and autonomy to be able to make some decisions based upon what we see in terms of the student needs. And then lastly, I'll just share that we all want what's best for students. And, we were looking at a lot of different data to really figure out how we want to hone in. And when we look at the aggregate of our student populations that qualify under A&I, many of our students of color, many of our free and reduced lunch students, and when we were looking at some of those aggregated groups of MCA data, our overall trend shows that gradual improvement for historically underserved students, and that we are starting to see a proof concept around modest narrowing of our achievement gaps. And reading and math proficiency, for example, with our students in free and reduced lunch price meals, that has increased over the past several years. Math and reading, just for free and reduced lunch, students that qualify for free and reduced lunch, that has narrowed over 5% points over the course of our last cycle of the plan. We see similar patterns also when we look at some of our different ethnic demographics of our students. Gaps decrease between our white students and our students of color by 2 to 3 percentage points in the course of the past 3 years of our plan. And we know that every year that learning can fluctuate. We also know that the ebb and flow of enrollment can fluctuate. And so what I also shared with you is that even over the course of that same time frame, the past, I think, 3 to 4 years, we've doubled in terms of our students of color as well as our students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. And even with that higher concentration, which we can correlate ties to some of those learning barriers that we can see across the country, unfortunately, we've maintained that continued narrowing of that achievement gap, even when we have higher concentrations. So are we there? Are we where we want to be? Absolutely not. I don't think there's a district in this country, heck, in this world, who has fully arrived that every single student that they serve is at the top par, of their game. And so we want to make sure that we remain committed to serving all of our students, as well as students that we know historically have experienced some barriers to those learnings, and we remain committed to doing that moving forward with this plan and anything else. So that's all I had to share.
Well, thank you, Dr. Thomas. The board's decision is whether to approve the plan as presented. We have a first and a second on that, so I will.
Chair Bullion, may I request a roll call vote, please?
Sure, absolutely. We can do a roll call vote. I think we've heard a lot of great perspectives here tonight, and I will start the roll call vote with you, Director Smith.
Aye.
Director France.
Aye.
Director Olsted.
Aye.
Director Mason.
Nay.
Director Johnson.
Nay.
Director Atkinson.
Nay.
And I am an aye, so that passes 4-3. Next up on the agenda is the construction services loading dock recommendation. Do I have a first and a second for that?
So made.
By Director France, and I heard
Second.
Oh, thank you. By Director Mason and Director France. Hi, Director Powers. Do you have anything to share with us before we take a vote?
I do. When we got these bids in, I was a little bit surprised. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. And what my recommendation to the board tonight is that we proceed only with the 5 Hawks replacement, and that we hold on all the other ones. And then I recommend Fireplaces and More to be our vendor to do this work.
Was that is that updated, or is that what's?
That was what I put on there, but I just wanted some
Okay.
explanation on it.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion, questions, directors? Director Johnson?
Do you have an estimated time on completion, and then when you would come back to us for moving forward with the remainder of that, especially if the cost is to change?
I'm unlikely to come forward this year with those.
Okay.
We've run into a couple other challenges this year.
Sure.
That make it, it's just better to hold on those right now. I've got the student entryway at the high school. We had a pipe burst for the sprinkler system.
Yep.
That's much more of a higher priority. So there's a couple of things that are working their way up to being a higher priority than those.
Understandable.
So I'm going to put those on hold for the moment, and we'll reevaluate that in a year or two.
Okay. Last question with that. Are you talking calendar year, fiscal year, or school year?
So it's going to be this summer. I apologize. I didn't tell you the timeline on that.
It's fine.
We cannot start that project until July 1 because of the funding that we're using and everything else. So they'll start July 1, and we'll be looking at, well, let's rephrase that. They can't charge me until after July 1. Whenever they start the project, we're all good. But they can't charge me until after July 1. So I suspect that this project, if it takes more than 3 to 4 weeks, I'd be surprised.
Okay.
But I will be, as with all projects, when I'm doing this type of thing, I'm checking on them daily and weekly as need be to make sure that they're on task and making sure they're getting things done for us.
Understand. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions or?
Yeah, I was curious too about just, why it sounds like it's just a prioritization of projects. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And then my second question was just around, there's a pretty substantial difference in the bid amounts. Any concerns with quality or change authorizations coming or anything like that?
So I talked a little bit about this earlier. Fireplaces and More have done a lot of work for the district, so I'm less concerned about quality or anything like that. Could there be a change order coming up? Probably. But when I'm looking at the differences between those, even a change order of $20,000, that's a pretty big change order. But when we're looking at the difference between the next bid, that's still a pretty small number comparatively.
Okay. You wouldn't expect substantial differences?
No, I don't expect any substantial change orders.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any Questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Director Powers. Next up on the agenda is the 2026-27 Health and Dental Insurance Premium Increase. Director Cothern.
Thank you. Good evening. In front of you, you have the recommendations from the Insurance Committee in regards to our health and dental rates. And we'll start with the health insurance. And so after the thorough review of the 25-26 claim data, the committee is recommending a 13% increase in our health insurance plan for the 26-27 fiscal year. Analysis of the most current data available tells us that a 13% increase will allow the district to continue to operate its self-insured health insurance plan in a financially responsible manner by maintaining the plan's fund balance. Maintaining a healthy fund balance for the plan is an important step in achieving consistent and substantial premium increases for the district and our employees. For our dental rates, the Insurance Committee is recommending a 10% increase in our dental insurance premiums for the 26-27 school year, as well as a 10% increase in our dental insurance premiums for the 26-27 school for retirees that are 65+ years of age. And same as the analysis of most of our current data tells us that this increase will allow the district to operate its self-funded dental plan in a financially responsible manner by covering claims and returning a healthy fund balance. And our self-funded dental plan is experiencing only its second premiums increase in 16 years. Just a couple notes on top of that. Conversations currently are going around the state right now in regards to health insurance. Throughout the state for a lot of school districts, and a lot of the comments are talking about, you know, if things continue to go at the pace that they are, that soon school districts are going to be choosing between, you know, health insurance and salary increases. And as of right now, I will say we're not getting there. Prior Lake is there, where we are, you know, at a point with the health insurance that we offer our staff. We are at a point now where we are gonna, you know, be choosing between those two things. And so because of that, next month in our insurance committee meeting in March, we are going to start discussing, you know, a new insurance model for the district that can still provide our staff with great, you know, health and dental insurance benefits, but do not jeopardize salary schedule increases. So we feel that that's important for us to start looking at, seeing as how we will be going for, you know, an RFP next year. And so we just feel that it's the right time to start looking at some different plan options to help keep our insurance costs low.
Thank you. Before we have discussion, can I get a first and a second motion for this?
So made.
By Director Mason and Director Johnson. Thank you. Any discussion or questions?
No, I just want to say thank you. I've been through this also with my businesses, and it went up substantially more than this. So I know how hard this process is, and the volatility right now of the market, and the risk pools that they're not sure are going to be there in order to balance those out. Hopefully we can get some significant change in health insurance legislatively going into the next couple of years, but that's also a long shot. Always hope. I want to know, do you guys have to contend with what's known as the benefit utilization percentage for your for the plans? Does that at all influence our rates?
I'm not aware. Director Ryder, are you aware? Yeah.
Well, the benefit utilization is, there's two ways. For self-funded plans, it's the actual utilization of the benefits, particularly at the higher rates, and what that breakdown is. And then on managed plans, they usually go with the benefit utilization it calculates the risk. It's the Milliman algorithm that goes into that. I just didn't know if that, for self-funded plans, I don't know what's done with benefit utilization, if that has actually been looked at, because we have a lot of really good stuff in our health insurance. If people aren't using it, what happens to our overall rates?
I think that's something we can take to our our administrative services, and they will have a much better handle on the data to pull to be able to help us understand that better for us. And that's one of the beauties of being self-insured, is the fact that you have the data to look at, and so we'll dig into that.
Yeah, and I know I was going to say the same thing, that, I mean, yeah, with our current administrator, I mean, he does a great job of getting us all that, and the report he puts together for the committee every month is top notch. And I mean, he does tell us about, like, you know, some of our health services through like Omada and different things like that, where people are doing some different kind of weight loss strategies and things like that, and we track, you know, how much total, you know, is being lost by the district as everybody who's on that plan and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot of data in there that they're able to show us what people are using and what they're not in our health plan. So yeah, we can definitely get that for you.
Any other discussion, questions? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0. Next up on the agenda is the setting of the 2026-27 school board meeting dates, and those have all been presented in your packet.
Excuse me.
I will take a motion and a second for that.
So made.
Second.
She wins.
You beat me to it.
I think you did too. Director Smith and Director France. All right, is there any questions or comments on the schedule as presented? Hearing none, I will take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes 6-0. Next up, we're having a transportation RFP recommendation. This is update only. The recommendation will be presented to the board requesting board action on March 23rd. Director Powers, welcome back.
A short stop, wasn't it? We had quite a few respondents to our RFP, and through conversations with staff and questions with those vendors, we've narrowed down the companies that we would like to invite back so that we can have a much more in-depth conversation with them. The 4 companies that we are looking at, one of them is CISO, the other one is Transportation and Delivery, Inc., Collaborative Student Transportation, and of course our current vendor, Prior Lake Area School Bus Association. We plan on starting those conversations with board approval starting this Wednesday, so that we can bring a formal recommendation with all the numbers to the board for the next board meeting.
Any questions, discussion? Director France?
Did they submit formal written proposals behind there with detail on them that you're going to be comparing, or is that not yet?
Yes, and that's part of our extra conversations that we'll be having with them. There was a question that came up today when we're doing more of our research. One of the proposals, the sped busing part was more expensive than the general ed busing part, and by the current rules, that's not something that we can have. So we want to make sure that we're continuing those conversations so that we can get the best appropriate contract for the district.
Are you surprised by the number of vendors that responded, or did you expect this?
That's an interesting question. Surprised, no. Some of the replies that we've gotten were a little interesting. We had one vendor that has 500 vans that was talking about doing our general ed services, and that's just, that would be beyond a nightmare situation. If you could just imagine that many more vehicles in every one of our drop areas, no, it's not workable. I appreciate that they came up with a novel idea, but those are not the proposals that we will be bringing forward.
Thank you.
Can you say the names again? I'm sorry.
Oh, sure. The first one is CISO. The second one is Transportation and Delivery, Inc. Third one is Collaborative Student Transportation. And the last one is Prior Lake Area School Bus Association.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just a further question on that. Would you ever consider like splitting up the services between gen ed and special ed? Okay, so you might have to, I know there was a separate piece in there.
Yeah,
but
that's part of our discussions that we're engaging in, and we actually, when we did the RFP, we issued that so that a provider could do one or both. And the other thing that we ensured also was that routing was a completely separate endeavor. So we are looking at a combination of things with a variety of the providers that submitted proposals to see what that total package could look like. So, yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you very much, Director Powers.
Thank you.
Next up is 2026-27 preliminary budget discussion. Director Ryder.
Chair Bullion and Board Directors, I'm just going to set the context for the conversation. Under the preliminary budget discussion, we'll be hosting a series of targets that all kind of tie together, if you will. So one of the things I just wanted to share, a couple weeks ago when we were having some discussion about the budget and even just some of the comments that we heard this evening, I want to be just very mindful of the reality that's before us and the tough situations that we're finding ourselves in. And, the comments tonight or from the board directors, we know that there are a lot of experiences and opportunities that our students have in our district. And unfortunately, over the past couple of years and then looking ahead to the future, we are going to have to make some tough decisions as to, what those experiences and opportunities may be, pending, future discussions. And I can't stress enough, and we even saw it, in our own conversations here at the table, and I hear it from the community. These are very personal conversations. These are very emotional conversations, and even our team in having conversations with building administrators. These are not easy conversations. And if you were to ask me, Michael, is there anything you would not like to do? I wouldn't want to do any of it. There's, if I'm being honest, there's always an opportunity to tighten our belt, and we will be mindful of that. But, cumulatively, if, as we cut next year, over the course of 3 years, we've cut almost $12 million or around $12 million from our district. That's very impactful. And at the same time, we want to remain a viable district of choice. And have enough attractant that families see the value of high-quality education, enriching opportunities, scaffolds and supports, and, ultimately graduating to go chase their dreams in life. And that's something that all of us share. And I believe every one of us sitting here at the board have that same passion for what we want for our students. I will say that as, a couple years ago when we were going through the levy conversations and we went to our community for a levy, we gave a 1-year spend exemplar for the levy. We heard feedback about, well, what would happen if it doesn't pass? We put up, those conversations. We tried to give the community as much information as we possibly can, and ultimately, through a democratic process, the community voted. And that's the outcome. And I just can't stress enough that I will always respect that, that is in the hands of our voters. And I think we were very transparent to share that, there are going to be a series of conversations that we may have to have if that levy does not pass. And we had a list of things that we were going to have to talk about and take action on, and all but 2 of those things we ended up taking action on. And the 2 remaining things are conversations that we are having right now with our schools. One of those was around our immersion pathway at the secondary level, and one of those was around the MinCAPS pathway at the high school level. Those are the 2 that we did not take action on. We thought we might be able to hold on to them, but we're at a point where we're having to have conversations. We know our secondary schools just went through the registration process. And we do this every single year, so this is not unique. But registration drives a lot of what gets offered at the secondary level. So you take that coupled with our declining enrollment, you've got kind of a compounded effect. So with fewer students, we'll need fewer classes in general. And based upon their enrollment choices, supply and demand will come into effect. And so if we don't have an elective that has a large demand for it, that's going to be an elective that's going to be a conversation for us. So we are having conversations about everything from core classrooms to shifting resources across core classrooms. We're looking at reductions of sections. We are looking at reduction of elective opportunities based upon enrollment and as well as student choice with the electives. And when we look at the overall enrollment at the K-5 level, we can look at where our current class size targets are at. We are only going to staff up to that target, and because that's one of the parameters that we must adhere to. But historically, we've been trying to keep things several students below target. And so we're having conversations now at the elementary level, given our projected enrollment, that we'll be staffing right up to that target level, which then looks at, how many sections will no longer be needed based upon declining enrollment. Anywhere from 14 to 16 sections across the elementary based upon capacity of our schools and enrollment of our schools. This is a conversation that we had, I think, last year when Executive Director Herman was here, and we did that, capacity study, and we were showing how many sections of each that we could have based upon enrollment, and then any changes to that, we'll start adjusting those sections. So very real conversations that we're having within our district, and not fun conversations at all. We've had a regular cadence, almost weekly, sometimes twice a week, with our building principals, and we've shared with you all some of our financial targets that we have, both for the central office as well as our schools, and we are working tirelessly trying to find ways to meet those targets. And there is no easy way of doing this. I don't believe there are conversations that we are having, and I'm sure my colleagues can attest to this, where we say, oh yeah, we got that one, that was really easy. These are really tough decisions, and as I've stated, we are choosing between what's really good for our students' experiences and what's really good for our students' experiences. And those are probably the worst decisions that you could be caught between. But at the end of the day, we are committed to ensuring that we are meeting the mark of that 4.1 that ties directly back to having a structurally balanced budget. Over the past, 4 years, this is our second executive director of business services who is saying the exact same story that her predecessor said. The numbers haven't changed. The forecasts really have not changed. And so we will have to have these conversations moving forward. And then ultimately, as you all tasked me to do, we will be having some conversations with you all in terms of what are some opportunities should the board decide that they would like to entertain a levy. And again, going back to the town halls that were mentioned, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment here, whether it was the most recent town halls that we were having around the three primary questions, or whether it was our strategic planning process, we've heard a lot of value adds or things that our students and our families really enjoy. And those same things that, they enjoy, these are the conversation topics that we're having, unfortunately. Like, that's the reality that we are finding ourselves in. And I'll close and get ready to turn over to Executive Director Ryder by just restating that we know the very thing that attracts someone to our district might be the thing that we have to have conversations about reducing. We understand that, and I want our community to know that we understand that. And we are working tirelessly to try to find the least impactful decisions for the overall experiences, but knowing that everything is interconnected and that, as small as we are and as thin as we are, we will feel those kind of impacts, much more greater than maybe a much larger system. So with that, I want to turn it over to Executive Director Ryder and team, who will walk through a couple of update topics.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. We want to start with enrollment updates as we are at that time of year in which every board meeting we're trying to bring to you those updates where we're keeping track of our enrollment monthly for our current year, as well as then for the kindergartners, taking a look at next year's kindergartner class and wanting to make sure that we're updating that on a weekly basis with comparative data from prior last 5 years. So to begin, the enrollment retention period enrollment history report that you have, that is one in which every month we're laying out the counts. And I say counts particularly because that's different from ADM, and I want to make that emphasis again. So as we take a look at these counts as of March 1st and lay them out by grade level and see the totals, and then I'm comparing it to what was the final fall count, that's in blue for the current year, as well as then what is our revised budget amount enrollment for the overall budget that we anticipate hitting by end of year. That is by ADM, okay? So the revised budget is average daily membership, whereas everything else for the final count, or final fall, as well as every monthly, those are counts. There's a difference there because a student, for example, may be one count, or then they drop to a PSEO class, for example, maybe second semester for half of their classes. Now all of a sudden their one is going to show 0. But on the average daily membership, when we get to the end of the year, they will have a proportion of that will be counted and will show up in the ADM, but isn't going to show in the count, okay? So some of what we're seeing here, and you can see it from year to year, the same thing's happening. When you get past January, it's not uncommon that you see this in the upper grades. So just wanted to make note of that. Again, just monitoring this and keeping an eye on it. It is on a trajectory that indicates that we might be coming in lower than budget, but again, that's going to depend on how many of these that are now 0 count are actually going to bring in more ADM than we anticipate, right? So that's kind of one of those things we're just going to have to wait and see and work from there. The next report, if I may. Please. The next report then is the kindergarten enrollment. And so as we take a look at the kindergarten enrollment, this is as of February 27th, and February 20th was updated. I'm just going to keep rolling the weeks and adding them as we show these to you. One of the things we're doing is we're then taking we list out the number of students that we know are open enrolled at this point in time, and also those that are our resident district kindergartners. We see for 26-27 that we now have, as of February 27th, 411 in total, 95 of which are open enrolled. And so what we want to then look at is what's the average of the last 5 years as far as percentages. In the past, this time of year, you would find ourselves at around 82 to 86%. So if we assume 84% is where we are at, then the number calcs out to be 489 is what we can anticipate at the end as we get to fall. This is just an estimate at this point in time. 489 is lower than the 529 you see in my header as to what was used for budget assumptions. We want to keep a closer eye on that in the next 4 weeks and see what happens. And it may be that we want to adjust our revenue assumption for kindergarten classes for 26-27 if that number doesn't improve more than what we're seeing right now. There's a 40 count difference from what I budgeted compared to where we're anticipating being. And if it's that high still in a month, we're going to need to adjust the budget, my revenue calc. So that's kind of how we use this information and work with that. I do encourage any family who's listening and has a kindergartner, go ahead, get them enrolled. That helps us to know for sure and make sure that we have the resources necessary for those students. If I may, then continue.
Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
As we move on, then, the next topic is budget targets, and I just want to make comment on the slide that's included is the one slide that showed the various different buckets and the total adjustments of $4.1 million. As we develop the fiscal year 27 budget, we are assuming the inclusion of $4.15 million in reductions in our line item budget. This is intended to maintain our 8% unassigned fund balance. That is in policy. This past week, Moody's completed their review of our bond rating and have adjusted our bond rating to AA2, which is where many districts are in Minnesota. As they review bond ratings, Moody's, they are now looking for an available fund balance ratio, which is your unassigned plus your available debt service fund balances, of at least 10 to 20% for the category of AA2. With an 8% unassigned fund balance plus our available debt service fund balance, we are just above the 10% threshold. So I needed to make that information, clear to people as they take a look at things, and to understand that the Moody's review of our bond ratings, as they do occur on a periodic basis, that's shifted over the years. I'll be honest, it's tighter, and they're looking more towards those fund balances to be an indicator that they weight heavier than maybe has been in the past. And so that was something that we learned last week, and I wanted to make sure that we understood and shared that out tonight as we also talk about, any items on the budget.
Director Ryder,
Yes.
if I may ask,
Yes.
can you, with what you just shared?
Yes.
What does that mean for us?
So the adjustment to our bond rating is something that will show then, should we sell bonds, that is something that those who invest in school district bonds, they're looking at what is the bond rating. It's an indicator of what is the likelihood of them getting their bond payment, their money back. We also are a part of the credit enhancement program within the state of Minnesota, which actually means then that our bond rating becomes an underlying one, or I should say that the state's rating actually takes over. And so for us, it's not too much of a concern with regard to the ability for people to invest in our bonds. They will. I think that it's something that it's one of the indicators that Moody's uses to identify and compare fiscal health from organization to organization. And I just think it's something we have to be aware of.
If I could add another layer to that question. You shared that it's not an investment concern. There's not an investment concern. Can you say, is this moving us to this AA2
Yep.
status? Do you consider this positive, or do you is this a?
It is an area that we need to strive to see if this is 10 to 20% that they look for the AA2, the next category up, which is the AA, I'm sorry. I said this wrong. Hang on one moment.
Sure, take your time.
Something here, okay. I have been saying AA2. The bond rating we have is AA3, and that is the 10 to 20% for category AA3. That's our new bond rating.
Our new, okay.
AA2, they expect a 20 to 30% fund balance for unassigned plus debt service. So as we talk about unassigned fund balance, it's important for us to understand that that's a component that is used in formulas by others like Moody's. And so as we have a bond rating of AA3, they are looking for it to be between 10 and 20% for their calculation, and we are at just above 10. And that's with our 8% unassigned fund balance. So moving forward, they are encouraging us to do what we can to ensure that our fund balance unassigned stays, at that 8% or higher, and to strengthen things. They understand school districts are seeing decline in enrollment. As they go through, not everyone gets rated at the same time. Everyone has a different timetable. If you happen to sell bonds between now and the time they would otherwise have you on their schedule, then you're going to get rated at that time when you're selling bonds, because anytime you sell bonds, there's a bond rating review. We haven't sold bonds for a while, so that's where our mark came up. So bond rating as of now, AA3, 10 to 20% is what they're looking for in those combined fund balance, available fund balance. And I guess my point in bringing this up is that working with an 8% unassigned fund balance is something I think we need to continue to strive for and to see if we can improve upon that in the future.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you for explaining that a little bit more.
And I apologize for my error in
No
speaking
problem
initially.
at all. I have one other question regarding the kindergarten enrollment and given the possibility that we may be doing what's the word? A what? No. A revision. So, a revision.
Yes.
Given the fact that we may be looking at doing a revision because of enrollment maybe not being what was projected, can you expand on that a little bit for us?
So I think to do it now might be a little bit too soon because I want to kind of see if some of our resident families come through.
Sure.
We're working off from what we have as we call them kinder list. And so it's the students that we've seen through other programming, or we know they have siblings, or whatever the case might be. And so I know all schools, in meeting with the elementary principals, they are all making calls and checking in with families. Some families are deciding, my student needs another year at home before I send them to school. And that's always an option for families too, especially those summer birthdays, right? And then there's others that just haven't put that kind of at the top of their list yet, and so they just aren't yet enrolled. But the anticipation is that they will be, and there's no indication to indicate that they wouldn't be. Their other siblings, for example, are enrolled, and there's been no notification. So it's a little soon for us to expect that if they're not enrolled now, they're not going to be here in the fall, because that's probably not the case. So the challenge every time we do a budget, enrollment is the core of our revenue. And that kind of determines then what we have room for expenditures, right? And then we're working on adjusting our budget to get to that point. From the beginning, these projections are going to shift and change. And they're going to change because of the assumptions that we have. We'll have more information, more updated information that may tell us like an increase or a decrease, right? One of the buckets is to under review revenue and compensatory adjustments. That is exactly where you usually have it when we're doing the fiscal audit. One of the last things we do is we redo our state aid calculations because we want to make sure that nothing's changed from the time we first calculated until that audit is going to be complete. And so similarly, when you're building the budget, you're going to want to review and recalc if there's any adjustments that need to be made on some of those numbers. Kindergarten, from the beginning, is always a big question. Ebbs and flows with regard to the number of students that will be on our list, the number of students that we're aware of. Some things in the community can prevent others from participating in the early learning programs, and if that's the case, then you won't know about the kids and the families possibly. So we need to just hang tight, I believe, for at least another month to know kind of where we're at with those numbers. And then we have to probably make an assumption and land with that for our adopted budget. As you noted, when we did the revised budget this year, enrollment shifted, and we recalced and increased the budget for that reason as well. So I think that as we take a look at this, we will potentially find that recalc needs to be done relating to kindergarten particularly, and in conjunction with the compensatory conversations. They just scheduled another meeting this week statewide regarding compensatory revenue. So interested in hearing what the MDE is saying about that. We've seen new numbers come out from the state as far as their projections as well. We also know the stressors that are existing. So there's just a lot up in the air at this moment, but we're going to need to come down with our assumptions at some point and stick with those for our adopted and then adjust when we get to our revised.
Thank you.
Yes.
Directors, any questions or anything else for Director Ryder right now? Okay. Hearing none, we'll go on to the next item, which is town hall themes. 3 town hall meetings were held in February, and table facilitators documented participant comments and identified recurring themes. The themes are to be discussed now. Dr. Thomas?
Thank you, Chair Bullion, Board Directors. So you have the synthesized themes that are in the board packet. And then Friday night, I sent you all access to a Google folder so you could see more of the raw data, because not everything gets picked up, you know, when we run things through a synthesization process. In addition to that, you all have been in your own conversation spaces. We are in constant conversation spaces. Our teachers and staff are in constant conversation spaces. Our Studer survey data shows themes that, you know, aren't directly asked, but you can pick them up from there as well. And essentially what we wanted to do, one is just kind of share what we gathered from this most initial conversation we had with our community, and ultimately asking the board, based upon what you've seen in the disaggregated data set and some themes that you've seen tonight, are there some things that you would like to pulse test with our community? You know, should we go forward with a levy? What are the top X amount of things you would like to see reflected in that levy conversation? Whether it's class size or enrichment or career pathway programming or more, you know, whatever it might be, right? The things that we're hearing. I think we're at a point where we know enough, we've heard enough, formally and informally through a couple of engagement sessions with the community, but also, like I said, other data sets over the course of the years, what we've heard also from our last levy campaign. If we pull all of that in, what is the will of the board to say, yes, Michael, let's pulse test, you know, through a survey, broad citywide, community-wide survey around, you know, top items that you all decide, yep, this is where we'd like to pulse test, and then rank order those so you can solicit, you know, what are the 3 or 4 top things that might resonate with our community to say, okay, if we're going to go for a levy, Michael, here are the 3 or 4 things that are top. Run a costing model now on what that would take. Because as we've been sharing with you all to date, the conversations that we've been having with you as well as with our community, and this was part of our town hall conversations, was around our current levy scenario and just you know, letting that play out, kind of a entry point conversation with our community at about a $3 million a year, and then at a $7 million a year. So this was just our pure operating. Turn on the lights, unlock the doors. Let's just keep things moving and trying to stay afloat as long as we can. Forgive my casual language around that, but that's essentially the conversations that we've been having. This was the conversation that we had with our community at our town halls. I can't tell you the amount of times that I was asked at my table and or in large groups to say, you know, this either all the scenarios you're showing us get us nowhere fast, you know, and everyone can see kind of the situation that we're at. And so to keep us in a 10-year trajectory, you can see it's going to be more than $7 million a year, you know, to stay above at that 8%. That Director Ryder was talking about, as well as then the things that families would say, this is what we would like to see, okay? So basically wanted to ask the board and engage you all tonight around, some of you were at, you know, the town halls, you've seen the feedback, you've seen some of the disaggregated feedback. Are there things you would like us to, you know, do a broad-based survey on to really narrow this in now on areas that you see rising to the top naturally, and put those all out to the community so that we can run a costing model on what we believe would be the reflective value add proposition from our community, so we know, I think going back to Director Smith's question, so Michael, if we were going to do all these things, what would that true cost be? I'm paraphrasing, but somewhere in that neighborhood. And obviously we want to do that within reason, and also do that based upon, you know, your guys' direction. So with that, Chair Bullion, I'll turn it for discussion.
Directors? Student rep?
I do want to open the discussion to the fact of class sizes and high-quality teachers. I know, given a couple of payment issues and due to a couple of payment issues and concerns and whatnot with teachers, that there has been quite a bit of teacher burnout, and I'm experiencing that within my own classes. And I'm observing my peers experiencing that within our own teachers. Our teachers do amazing work at the high school. They're amazing educators, and I learn something new every single day, and I'm proud to say that. However, if it's in the hallways or if it's sitting in lunch and hearing teachers talking and whatnot, there are occasions where I do see teachers either putting off assignments, putting them towards TAs, or overall just being burnt out with their class sizes. I mean, I'm in a couple of classes that have upwards of 35 students. I know that there's definitely a lot of scheduling issues due to PSEO and other concurrent enrollment programs at the high school. So, for example, my APUSH class, AP US History class last quarter, there was no students, whereas the hour before me, there was about 40 students in a small classroom, giving my teacher, Mr. Mesnick, a lot of work to be dealing with, and more than he should be able to handle and more than he needs to handle. So I definitely think that class sizes and making sure that class sizes are smaller is important to the community, because it allows my teachers to be able to be more on one-on-one with me. A lot of the times teachers often overlook students that may be having challenges. So I think that may be something that may be important to open up to the public on talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I have a couple of questions, if I may.
Yes, please.
Under the second bullet, under funding instability, it says many participants noted confusion about how school funding works. Join the club. And a desire for clearer communication. I understand it, but it's very complicated, right? The desire for clearer communication. I'm just kind of, what does that mean? Is that the channel of communication? Does that mean what they're maybe hearing? And this is what I'd maybe like to find out is it the information that they're getting isn't clear? Is it the channel being used? So that kind of stood out to me. I would be curious if anybody else wondered about that. And then under increasing student complexity, it says broader learner diversity. So I would love to know maybe more specifics about what people may mean by that. And I realize this is a thank you, synthesized version. So maybe it's just that. But those are the two things that stood out with me where I'd like to learn more about that and what people maybe thought about that. So.
Director Olsted, I'll share what I heard in several of my table conversations and some of the larger group. So the broader learner diversity, meaning that the needs that students are coming in to the classroom with are growing increasingly more complex, more frequent. I think to what we heard our student talk about, if I'm a student who, has some additional needs and I'm in a space where I feel kind of overwhelmed or swallowed up, I may not express myself. I may just naturally withdraw, and so out of sight, out of mind. But what I heard throughout my table conversations were just the vast learning needs that our students are coming into the classrooms with. And I'm not talking about it's everything from significant dysregulation to, significant twice gifted and everything in between, right? So we've heard it all, but that's where I heard that coming across. And for a teacher to be able to differentiate to the level of needs that are presented in the classroom every day in 2026 is sometimes seemingly insurmountable. We have teachers and staff who dedicate their lives in their careers to helping young people, and it's not for not wanting to do that. I think they're finding and how with so many varied needs and so many students, how can I possibly find that individualized connection point with my students as my heart desires. Putting words in some of our staff's mouths. The last question you had about clear, sorry, did you want to add a
So
question?
it's diversity of need.
That's what I heard a lot of.
Okay.
That's what I heard a lot of.
That makes a lot of
Yep.
sense, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
And then building trust through clear communication. I vividly remember a conversation I was having at a table with a family who no longer has kids in the system. Their kids are young adults at this point, but they're convicted of supporting our school district. And the mother of this adult former student was saying, "Yeah, I never knew there was a levy last time around." And we should have put this into the paper. We should have put this onto the web. We should have been hosting town halls. And I'm clearly with thousands of people in our community, we're not going to reach everyone. And I jokingly said, "Boy, you should have seen my tour schedule," because I was on the road 24/7. And see, my wife's like, "And you are?" when I would come home. So we clearly know. As much as we engage our community, and staff here, we call them living room sessions, and literally I've been in living rooms of families' homes having conversation. We can do everything that we believe is sufficient, and we need to do that like 100 times more, right? We will never be able to communicate enough, and so we just know that we'll have to continually find multiple modalities, multiple engagement times of day, weekends, et cetera, like we've done in the past, and just keep doing that. Clear communication in the complexity of school funding, and I really appreciate Director Ryder and how she can really take very complex conversations and break them into small digestible pieces. That is truly a gift that she has. And there's only one of her, right? So we know that we may have to find ways that we can, like we have school improvement or school funding 101 on our website. We have some diagrams of a dollar bill. We show pie charts of how we're funded, all that kind of stuff. But we just need to continue to find ways to make it extremely clear that, our student right here could lead a conversation in school funding, right? Like, how do we break it down that simple? That was actually a compliment, by the way, not to belittle you. But just to make it that approachable for that even some of our students would be able to understand, okay, I see it. And you actually spoke to a couple of things tonight to let me know that you're dialed in to understanding kind of these connection points. So that gives me some hope. So I think that's what we're hearing, Director Olsted, around clear, consistent, frequent communication. And I will say, our last 2 town halls definitely attracted more of our, actually no, not our students, the other end of the spectrum, more of our retirees perhaps, some of our more seasoned community members. And they don't have kids in the system, they might have a grandchild in the system at best. Maybe they interact with community ed. But one of the things that they said, with having no newspaper, that was a huge disconnect, and we knew that. And I'm not, I'm not advocating for or against a newspaper, but they are the folks who probably still have a newspaper subscription at home to Star and Trib or whatever, and sitting down with their coffee every Sunday morning and doing their thing, right? Like, that's their tactical learning. They're not going to go to a website. Maybe they'll come out to a town hall because they were there those last 2 times, but what's the modality that they are going to connect to? We did a very intentional engagement in Prior Lake to attract more of our senior communities last time around, and it was a packed house. And right afterwards, it was Bridge. So we had a captive audience, right? They were there. It was great conversation. So those are the types of things that we're going to have to be mindful of, that, they may not have students in our schools, but one of the things that was also a common theme, and I'll own it because I know there's one that I would bring into the conversation too, is the value add of a strong school system on the greatest equity investment you've probably made, and that's the purchase of a home. Or if you're renting, the folks that might own that home to maintain and keep that property so that you can stay there as a renter, right? I mean, the value add in the interconnectedness between strong schools and home values is immeasurable. You go anywhere in this country and you'll find a direct correlation to that. So if I don't have kids, but I do have a very important investment in my home and I want to protect that investment, here's an opportunity. So those are some of the things, Director Olstad, that I think really came out in my conversations.
Well, on the receiving a pulse test, we've heard from a couple directors. Is there, Director Mason?
Yeah, I think, first I just want to say thank you to everyone that came to the sessions. I think, we had pretty full rooms, which was fantastic. And I think some great feedback. I think I sent this to you too, and I just, again, go back to, yep, we had 150 people in here, that was great, but how do we reach the other 27,000 voters, right, in this district? So I think that will be an important thing for us to consider as we move through this process. But I think a lot of this feedback is pretty spot on. I think the things that really stuck out to me and the things I hear constantly from teachers, parents, students, everybody is the class sizes. If there's one thing I would advocate for, it would be, trying to get back to that pre-December 24 class size targets, and potentially looking at middle school and high school class size targets, at least for core classes, maybe. I know, I don't think we have them. I think, I think that teacher retention goes hand in hand with class sizes. So appreciate that comment too. I think, some of these are great feedback. We could maybe leverage partnerships or community partnerships specifically, or just optimizing resources on obtaining them. Others we would need to do in-house. So, for me, it's the reduction of class sizes and reinstating the advanced enrichment programming. Those would be the two key things. And I did continue to hear over and over too, just, how our special education brings families here and what a great job they're doing in the inclusive programming. So certainly continuing with that as well. But I think those were my key feedbacks. Oh, sorry, one more. The one thing I didn't see mentioned in this summary, and I had read through all the details and just ran a little AI quickly too, but, and I heard this at both tables I was at 2 different days, was around the technology usage. And just balancing that, right? The ask is to balance that somehow. So it seems like maybe there's an over-reliance specifically at the middle and high school on technology. So I guess that would be something I didn't really see called out in here that I heard quite a bit.
The last bullet.
Oh, thank you. Is it in here? Yeah, I guess.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that kind of alludes to that, yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
Director Johnson?
Yeah, my point is not so much towards the comments and more, Dr. Thomas, for you. I don't think we need to waste the extravagant amount of money to go out in a survey that we did the last time.
Oh, no, that's
yeah.
not what this would be
Okay.
something in-house.
Okay.
That we would run,
I think
not a professional.
I think we've came up with ideas in order to get surveys out there. I think we've came up with new ideas, right? I.e. targeting different avenues, right? In order to get individuals from our community to fill out surveys. I think we stick to that.
Yeah, so I want to be clear with the board. This was
Yeah.
not going to be like a Morris Leatherman
Yeah.
survey.
Yeah.
This is going to be something that is organic, that we construct, but it's based upon what we are hearing. Very local, kind of that grassroots approach, but trying to get to Director Mason's point, outside of what we just recently heard, how do we get more to the masses? And get a good pulse test on that. And I think we can construct that ourselves and then say, yeah, this validates what you all as a board feel that you've been hearing, and or, yep, it's these two things that we thought and this new thing that continually came up, you know, with our community. And that's, Michael, what we want you to run a costing model against. But ultimately, what I'm asking the board is direction on what to cost out for a levy beyond an operating. That's my ask of the board, and how you can guide that conversation, because ultimately that will come to you for a decision.
Dr. Thomas, will that that ask be coming again to a future study session?
You know what? Let me come. It would be. So we would essentially, what I was hoping tonight is to gather perspective on that.
Feedback.
And if this is a direction from a pulse test, what are some of the things that we could come back to you and say, okay, based upon what you said, here's what we believe we would bring out in terms of our own internal organic, survey. Here's a timeline that we think that we could run it based upon a rank order system, if you will. We'll solicit the top perspectives and themes from our community, and then share that with you all in terms of how we would cost out. Then here's what here's what it would entail. And then the board, you would gauge, yep, that's something that we feel that we should go forward with, or no, we're gonna scale that back and go a different direction. But I'm looking for the board to kind of direct the parameters of that pulse test.
Chair Bullion, can I?
Yes.
I don't know when your one-on-ones with everyone is, but I would honestly prefer to have this going faster, right? So we can gather as much data as possible. So, could you throw something together and send it to everyone in an email so that you could put something together for the study session, the upcoming study session?
I can do that, and I think just like what a couple of you are saying tonight,
via one-on-ones
yep,
even?
and that as
Yeah.
well. Mhm.
Dr. France?
Myself.
It is
Right.
something I could do.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
cut you
you're
off.
fine. All good.
Okay. Dr. France?
We've done surveys before, and we've asked people, and each time, what do you want to see different? What do you want to see changed? Et cetera. What do you want to add? Class size has always been one of the key issues, as well as other things that have gone on. But one of the themes that I hear every time, and not being able to look at it from an unbiased perspective, because I've been sitting on the dais for so long, but people, when they're given a structured survey, are trying to pigeonhole what their ideas are into one of the choices that we give them. And it's confusing. There's definitions, there's interpretations. Is there any way that we could do this in a phase to kind of throw out, not really a blank sheet of paper, because that's not necessarily going to get us everything either, or at least even be able to be synthesized, but something that's structured but allows enough open comments so we can really gauge the pulse of the tens of thousands of people that do not make it to these town halls, which is the vast majority of people. Because I'm not sure we've really gathered that, because each time, and all the years I've been living in this community, and each time we go out there, when we do decide to go forward with a levy, whether it's a building bond or an operational levy, there's just a plethora of different opinions that don't even synthesize with all the work that we had done for months ahead of time. And we find ourselves kind of backpedaling. And yeah, there's a lot of other stuff going on, and a lot of, say no groups and all that kind of stuff that are kind of, muddying the waters quite a bit. But But really what it comes down to is exactly that issue with not understanding what's going on with the full 60% of our community not actually having kids in the district. So if there's a way that we can kind of throw out a more high-level question before we narrowed it down, I think that's going to help us quite a bit. Actually, also speak in the language and change our framework so that we're talking in the language of the average community member.
I agree. And I'm also mindful of believe it or not, if this is a conversation that the board wants to entertain, November is right around the corner.
I know that.
And so I think blending both, you and Directors Johnson, like, is there a way that we can kind of speed things up?
Yeah.
But also give openness to a blank slate? So where do we meet in the middle on that, to get some additional feedback? I would wage to say, and I know not every board director has spoken, but the most recent town halls and the strategic planning engagement sessions, I heard very parallel themes.
Yeah.
Very parallel themes. But that's just me.
No, and we've heard parallel themes last time too.
Right.
And
so
so
if the
I'm
board
just trying to,
feels that you have enough data already.
No, actually,
Okay.
because of that concept of, when I was there, I was very grateful to see some new faces. However, I saw a lot of the same faces too that have come to every single other one, and they all tend to come kind of with an agenda. They're either pro or con or blah, 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 blah. I was grateful to see the new faces, but again, banking it on the town hall is as valuable as it was. We're not even scratching the surface of a population sample.
So no, I get that. So what I'm saying, Director France, is versus essentially starting with a blank slate community-wide, we have enough survey data from whether it's our Studer data, whether it's the Morris Leatherman survey data from a year and a half ago, whether it's this town hall data. We've got a plethora of data that was some guided, some open. Strategic plan, very, very open, extremely open, blank slates. These last three were open. Morris Leatherman, as you know, very structured. So I guess I'm asking, given what Director France is saying, which makes sense, do we take that approach? Does the board want to take that blank slate kind of approach to open up a new data set? Or do you want to look at existing data sets to combine? And I guess that's more the question I'm asking of you all.
Can I just add something too? Because even in the previous ones, we
Yeah.
also had very structured questions.
Yep.
With 4 or 5, do you agree or do you not agree, that sort of thing. And we kind of led the survey doer into that. Isn't there any way that we can and also the other thing that I want to add from the previous years, and I've seen this happen every year we've gone through a November referendum, and that's that we end up sending these surveys out around spring break. And we make the deliverable date right after spring break, which isn't usually the best timing, but we have to do it just because. Is there any way we could throw out something even online on the website that you could advertise that just say, listen, what would cause you to want to, let's say, what is the one incentive that's going to help you invest in our schools, and leave it up to them to write it out, because I think that the responses may be the same that we've seen, but I'm guessing you're going to find some nuances in there that are really going to kind of help use the language of the people in our favor.
Yeah. It's doable.
Sorry, I didn't mean to monopolize the
Nope, that's
time,
doable.
Chair Bullion.
Director Alsted.
Yes, and I think with all of the data sets, we mentioned, the town halls, the strategic planning process, the Morris Leatherman surveys. Heck, we might get some really good information out of the survey we have out now
Correct.
as well. I I want to be careful that we're not entering analysis paralysis. I look at this list and I don't see any surprises. A couple of things are already on our board priorities that we laid out. And so I think that is a very, that suggestion I think is an easy, I say that not being the web builder, but I think an easy way to ask one open-ended question as one way to get a little bit more data. And I think maybe between the 7 of us, I think maybe we can, also not trying to create any work, but maybe give Chair Bullion our top 3, like maybe from this list, the key challenges identified. What would you say your top 3 is? And then by the time she gets everybody's, you know, we can kind of rank them, if you will. Bring it back to maybe a study session or something like that. I just want to be careful that, yes, I want a lot of the information. I want to make sure that we're hearing from people because you're right. I think both of you said, you know, town halls, it was amazing. And I was also very glad to see a lot of new faces, but it's certainly not a representation of our community. So I want to make sure that, yes, we're hearing from as many people as we possibly can, but I don't want to delay either the process because we've got some really yucky decisions to make. And I'd like to start down that path as much as I don't want to start down that path. I just don't want to get paralyzed by so much data that it ends up causing confusion. And we've already got a survey out right now that we really want people to take. So, and I realize those are families of our district, so it's not, you know, not all voters or anything, or people don't have children in our district, but so I don't want to confuse people either. So if there's maybe a happy medium to ask one open-ended question, I think that's fair, because we might learn some surprises, or we might hear the exact same things, and can't say we didn't try to, you know, utilize all angles and all channels and all the things to try to get some feedback.
Director Johnson.
Can I kind of merge in with Director Francis? I think a very short, easy 3 question. Do you want a levy, yes or no? How much would you support adding, right, with 4 or 5, kind of like the Morris Leatherman, and what's your most important issue? Leave it blank. Short, simple, to the point, right?
I like it. I think do you want to levy yes or no, I think is
right.
a little
Someone
loaded.
can wordsmith
read into
it,
that and
right? Hopefully the point's getting across.
Yeah.
Short, sweet, to the point.
Yeah.
No, I think we can wordsmith that, and I would agree with that. Like you said, we'd have to think about the language being used, but make sure the open-ended question allows them to put as many points in they want, and not just one.
Right.
Because then you're gonna get a really, probably.
My biggest point is
Yeah.
the goal is to get one passed, and we're not gonna know unless we give a dollar value. And that's something no one here has talked about and is not on, right? Where's the dollar value? That's what we really want to know. There's one in Morris Leatherman. I get that, but
Yeah, so, you know, if we, and I will say, thinking back to the Morris Leatherman survey, there was open-endedness, is that a word, to that survey. It wasn't all scripted and structured from what we did. Might be a little bit different what he does across the state. So that data is still accessible. But yes, a very short, brief, 3-question kind of deal, quick and easy for families, perhaps. Timing-wise, given where we're at with Studer coming to a close and just us culminating all of that, we would be looking at targeting after spring break, probably mid-April, that we would push something out for about a week or so, and see if you can gather, you know, additional feedback from the community at large. Then anchor that with the most recent stakeholder feedback from Studer as well. I think you'll have ample data as a board to make some decisions as to how you'd want to proceed forward and say, these are the things that we're hearing from our community. These are in our top box, Studer language, and that's what we're gonna, that's, Michael, what we want you to cost out. Because ultimately, it's going down, like, what's the price tag?
Yep.
And that's what I'm trying to get us towards in terms of our engagement with our community, so they know if this is the ideal state, this is what it will cost us. And that's what we talked about in our town halls. We know the blueprint for doing the full remodel and addition is this. Now, will we, how might we chunk this out?
Can I just make a, so when it doesn't matter if somebody's only paying $5 a month or they're paying $100 a month. They're still gonna want the Cadillac for the price of a, yeah.
But I
So-
think our reality is, you know, the numbers are the numbers. And if this is what the community is looking for, then this is what the ask would be. And we
And I
can't
get
control
that.
people's, you know, budget for what they want. If they want a $5 Cadillac versus a.
And I get that, but we need to have, before we put that
Yeah.
open-ended statement out there, we need to have a narrative out there that basically states, because if we get enough money to tread water, they're gonna say, I'm not gonna give you more money because I didn't see any benefit to it, you just stayed open.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened last time, is that there was two rates. One was, we're gonna tread water, we make no changes, we can't improve anything. And matter of fact, if we have that blip in the economy or something like that, then we're still gonna have to make a lot of these cuts. And you're gonna have your average Joe who, as Director Olstad pointed out, not understand the language of school finance and then be upset. So we have to figure out, and I would look to the wonderful schmoozing way that the writers do here, to kind of make sure we lay that foundation of the narrative. And I think that would help when they also answer the question.
Going back to the pulse test, Director Smith, do you have anything that you wanted to share?
I can, yeah.
We haven't heard
No,
from you yet, and
no,
I have a
that's-
couple things that I'd like to share, but I
don't-
want all of
no,
you to
I
have the
apologize for being
opportunity
flippant.
first.
No, I mean, to just briefly say, I agree with Director Johnson. I mean, very short, very brief, and it's been said around the table, but I mean, what we want to know is, would you support a levy? At what amount? And what's your biggest priority? I mean, I agree with hearing everything about, you know, the narrative and making sure that people understand school finance, and there's a lot that's gonna go into this, and I totally get that, but what I'd really like to know is, given everything that's happened over the last couple of years in terms of, and we would have ended up cutting anyway, but we're, you know, possibly not as much if the last levy had passed. So given some of these discussions that the board has been having, given some of the decisions that we've had to make as a district, given the fact that these town halls painted a very real picture of being in statutory operating debt in 2028, you know, maybe that has changed the community's view on, would I support a levy? So I mean, like, getting to the root of it, would you support a levy? What's the amount? That's gonna help us understand, you know, like, what is that price tag? Like, if we want those things that we wanted to either bring back, or class sizes, or interventions, or whatever it is, it'll give us an idea of what might be possible in a levy. So I mean, I agree. I think it's a very short, simple, yes, amount, and then outlining what the priorities are.
Well, I think we've received a lot of great feedback. I appreciate the synthesizing ability, Director Johnson, of the three things. But when I listened to Dr. Thomas, your initial ask is the pulse test. You know, gathering feedback from the board, asking what are top things so that you and your team aren't costing out things that aren't, you know. When I think back to whether it be the last levy or the strategic planning and these most recent town halls, I think the overall, I think like, to Director France's comments, last time with the levy, you had, was it 2 different amounts or 3 different amounts? That we chose from? 2. There was 3 in the beginning.
3 in the beginning.
During the town halls,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And
Oh,
you.
town halls, I'm
yep,
sorry, I
and
thought
so you had stated at those town halls, time after time, that, you know, the reason why we went for the $45 was because we weren't, you wouldn't be able to give us anything. We would
Right.
just be remaining
water.
the same. And you, I feel like you used the word ethically, I'm not sure if that's the word you, but like ethically, you didn't want to go for a levy that
Yeah.
didn't offer anything.
I said I would feel disingenuous to say,
Disingenuous.
let's raise your taxes with nothing in return.
And nothing-
Outside of,
yes.
I mean.
So, you know, when I think about like this pulse test, I think about however we can be as clear as possible. Now, we're always gonna have feedback that not enough people were, you know, knew about it. We're always gonna have feedback that, things weren't as clear as some would like them to be. But keeping that super top of mind, that being extremely clear on what the levy will bring. And I would say for my pulse test would be not cutting programs. You mentioned 2 discussions that are even now hard discussions that are taking place. Looking at things that will possibly be cut if nothing changes in our district. And so when I think about, when you're asking, what is the pulse test? What are things that we don't want to do? I mean, we don't want to cut any more programs from what we've already cut. And so tying that with your feedback from the last levy town halls, right? Like, we have to be at this amount to even do this. I think where we are at as a district right now, the programming that we have in place, the class sizes, you know, that's kind of been our board goals, is not to increase class sizes. And so we already know that they're at places in some classrooms that we wouldn't like them to, you know, that we'd like to lower them. So that's I guess, I don't know if that's as clear as mud, but that's kind of my pulse, is that we are as clear as possible, and that we are being mindful not to cut any programming any additional programming. You mentioned immersion at the middle school and MinCaps at the high school is a discussion that is in the foreseeable future, if not already starting. And so, unless I heard you wrong and I wrote my notes wrong.
Yeah, so I'm talking about, I'm referencing the levy conversation from before. Those are the 2 carryover items that we said we were going to need to address if that levy didn't pass, and we've been holding on to it. In this current cycle of budget reductions that we're in, we will be cutting programs. We will be cutting supports. I mean, we will be cutting, but moving forward in the future, to prevent that, I think I'm hearing from the board, you know, and I think we're getting there in different ways, but to pulse test on what would our community support. I actually appreciate the brevity of the 3 questions, and kind of Dustin, or Director Smith, how you kind of reframed a couple of things from Director Johnson as well. I think it's something in that space. Those are the 3 quick points that could give us potentially a lot of unique new information that really speaks to what the community is looking for. I think you can then triangulate that with a couple of other big data sources that we already have to kind of check against that. So I think we'll get that pulse test to say, this is what the community is looking for, or here are the top things that the community is looking for. So again, I think from a timing standpoint, I would like to go back to the team tomorrow and to talk a little bit about this conversation more on what could that look like, and then perhaps give an update at the 23rd study session, if I got my date right, March 23rd study session, to say, Based upon the feedback, this is the approach that we think would get us the outcome that the board was coalescing around tonight.
Just a question on what you mean by pulse test. So like I kind of took that as like giving some examples for like different ranges. So I agree with keeping it brief, but I also like the approach of like saying, you know, for $45, here's what the 3 things you get. Maintaining programs, reducing class, whatever that is.
Sure.
And then for $30, here's what you get. You know what I mean? And then post testing.
I hear you. So that's where I started.
Yeah.
Conversation shifted
Kind of
tonight.
going back. Okay.
Okay.
I kind of like that approach because we have so much data and feedback.
I concur, but I'm looking to the will of the board, not what Michael wants to do. And so if the will of the board is to lead a little bit based upon the data that we know, we could certainly try to do that with a couple of scenarios and then keep it open at the very end as well. So if we're looking at, would you support a levy? If yes, here are 3 different scenarios. If none of these scenarios, what would you like to see? You know, is something to, we obviously wordsmith that to make it make sense, but.
I think it only has to, as much as I appreciate what you said as laying it out that way, remember, our community is gonna go to the polls and they're gonna see a dollar sign, right? They're not going to see the flyer, right? That the school board and the school system and every member of the community who's gonna go out there and try and work to get the levy passed, right, has been going out there. They're gonna walk into the poll and they're gonna see a dollar sign. So if we ask the question, you have to ask the question with only the dollar sign, no other data behind it. Like that would be for me, right? If you're gonna ask it, you give 5 things, right? Or 4, right? 15, 30, 45, 60, however it is. That's mine, because that's the realest you're gonna get is that's what they're gonna choose. Because that's what you're not gonna know, right? And you're gonna ask the question.
So can I ask
That's
something with that?
Just my opinion.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Nope.
Reducing class sizes is incredibly expensive. Incredibly expensive.
About $1 million per student, K-12.
Yep.
Again, I think the ask.
So if you start putting dollar values out there, nobody's gonna walk into a store and say, just give me $100, but I'm not gonna tell you what you're gonna get. And if we don't know what they want, we don't know how to create the product. So we're kind of right now in a catch-22. I like the idea of just putting a dollar amount out there, like options of what are you willing to spend, and then leaving it open again. But I think we already kind of talked about that. I just want to be really careful that if everyone in the community says, we want you to reopen the pool and reduce class sizes, and then they say we're only willing to spend $15 a month.
Yeah, that's
Then how do we go back and communicate that to the district? So I think that's what I would like to see the administration kind of noodle around. And again, my goal with also leaving the open is to understand the lexicon that our community is using, not the language we use, but the way they're interpreting it, because that's going to help us actually develop a campaign.
Well, and I think, yeah, so I think I have enough to go back and have a good conversation with the team. I'll close with this one parting thought. And this was part of our last campaign. In our current conversations today, in our most recent town halls, our maximum revenue generation was around 7 mil, and that would last us about 3 years. So I just kind of like, for the board, do the math. So if we're looking for a 10-year levy, roughly 3 times that is what 10 years buys us, right? So that could be, and this is real back of the napkin math. So I just, I'm just having the conversation. But if 7 mil buys us 3 years, 21 million is the ballpark to take us out to 10 years or so. And that's general operating and built in 3 mil reductions every single year. And so the person, and this goes back to your point, Director Franz, about I want a Cadillac for a $5 car payment a month. So.
But that's the feedback that we actually got, and that was because what we found out as we went through the years, people were, I didn't know you had to cut that. What do you mean you got to cut this, the whole bit? Is that the understanding of the financials wasn't there. And they're going, you asked for too much. Well, if I'd only asked for this, we'd still be making these cuts.
Yeah.
And then they'd come back literally and say, well, I didn't gain anything, so why should I give you any more money because I saw no improvements? And that's the narrative that really needs to come up on the front of this.
And I'll just, so going back to Director Johnson's point about a number, even with context, sticker shock is a real thing, right? So we're mindful of that. And so that's the fine line that we're walking here. And this goes back to some conversations that we were having as well about the operating conversation, and with the bonds coming off, does that get converted to supplement the reduction? So in theory, we would have, bond payments that are no longer, they're all paid off, that could get converted into almost the equivalent of what we are projecting to make a cut, so we can actually realize the levy that comes in, right? So these are the things that, as a board, as a community, that we've been sharing with you all. And again, trying to gauge what's the appetite, what's the will that you want us to go forward with, based upon, you all being duly elected representatives of our community. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want to make sure that we can come back with, to you all in terms of a survey of sorts. So I think I have enough to come back to you all on the 23rd with kind of an approach, as probably well as some cleaner, non-back of the napkin costing of some scenarios that might make sense to pulse test and keep some openness to your point, Director Franz.
Yeah, I mean, I like that approach. I think that costing these scenarios is important because I think that's, if it's going to cost us $100 a month to reduce class sizes, people need to know that, right?
Exactly.
So, I mean,
exactly.
It's worth the exercise.
Okay.
Good. Thank you. All right, next up on the agenda, policy. We are in second and final reading of a few policies tonight. They've been reviewed and read prior to this. We can go policy by policy, or however you'd like to take us through this, Director Cothern. Okay, we'll start out with policy 101.1.
You want 101 or do you want 101.1?
Oh, I want 101. I'm not going to do that to you. Thank you.
Yeah, so went through last time the draft of policy 101, and at that point in time, this is now the second reading, and we went through the changes that we made in regards to either aligning those to MSBA or any sort of clerical nature ones, or any sort of policy committee recommendations.
What I want to do actually is I want to take a motion and a second. I want to get a motion and a second to pass these, and then we'll go through one by one. Thank you. Can I get a motion and a second? Thank you.
Second.
All right. Now, with that being said, does anybody have any discussion points on the changes that are in red in our packet? Hearing none?
In 101?
101.
Okay.
Okay. 101.1, same thing. We made some changes either that were aligning to the MSBA or some clerical in nature ones, and also the recommendations from the policy committee in regards to the legal references and cross-references.
Any discussion or comments on 101.1? Okay, hearing none. We'll go on to
Are we going to vote on 101.1 and then 101.1?
I thought we could take, I took a motion and a second for all of them.
Okay. Take mine.
I mean, yeah, probably eventually if one gets sent back potentially, then you would probably have to vote on them individually.
Well, hopefully we'll do
All
well,
right.
but we'll see how it goes.
Okay, sounds good. 104, there was once again, some changes in regards to that, as well as some of the discussion around the board table to make some changes in regards to the review, where we struck out 2, put in 3, along with some other language that's in your board packet. And then in regards up in the district mission, we updated that to our current mission.
All right, 104.
Yeah, you know. So when 104 came up last time, I was kind of shocked it actually came up, but I figured, okay, we'll try to manipulate it so it matches the strategic plan and where it needs to be. And the more I thought about it and the more I looked at all the other districts that actually dropped it, which is the vast majority of them in the state, it's because they have a strategic plan. They no longer have a mission. And the one that was pulled up, like many other MSBA templates, this one probably makes the least amount of sense. It's the 1977 template, as I realized. It hadn't been changed since then. And the vast majority of the districts have completely rewritten it or dropped it completely. Whereas it's somewhat benign, it really doesn't make any sense because, again, like I stated last time, the MSBA is like, some of those templates are like going to Google and asking for an HR policy or something. You don't take them as they are. You modify them, as the majority of other districts have done, or gotten rid of them. So I'm actually going to ask that we either drop this one completely or adjust it so it's actually for our strategic plan, because it makes no sense. We're never going to review the mission. The language that was put in there last time that I was still struggling with was about the school board reviewing it. It's a 100 policy. It's not a 200 policy. So the school board and using the training of every couple of years when we change boards, none of that made any sense. And so I didn't have it with me, but like I said, I was surprised that it was even kept. But I did look at every other district and found that only 2 of them still have it, and they're highly modified. And of the, like I said, the 2 that have it, they actually stated their strategic plan and mission statement in there. They did not ever keep it. Matter of fact, I didn't find one that kept the 1977 model that was pulled up there. So I would suggest that we actually just drop this one from the list and then see if we want, instead of the mission plan that was originally done there before school districts went with a much more robust method, that we actually change it and put our strategic plan in there and say we're going to as a district, because the 100 policies, if we stick with what the MSBA wants, not what other school districts have actually done, which is getting rid of a lot of the 100 ones in general, but actually say, okay, if they're going to be district as a whole, then we put in there the strategic plan. It's reviewed every 5 to 7 years. And I do have the list of districts that I looked at here and everything like that. Like I said, I have a hard time finding any district that used this core template. Matter of fact, I didn't find one in our immediate Twin Cities area, and the one that I did was in outstate Minnesota, and they hadn't updated their policies in over 20 years. So.
Okay, so that being said, Director France, your suggestion, I think we need to get the will of the board on whether.
Do we need an amendment?
Well,
Yeah,
a motion to amend the motion.
yeah, I think so.
That's my favorite. Robert's, thankfully, our student rep is, okay, we can do that.
Parliamentarian.
Yeah, exactly. We can make an amendment to the motion to take out the help me with the
So
amended
I would
motion.
like to amend the original motion to only include 101 and 101.1.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
So we can amend that motion, but then what do I have to do next?
Yes,
Need a first and a second, and then you
And then we can
vote on it,
discuss.
and if it doesn't make it, then we go back to the original.
Okay, so can I get a first and a second for the amended motion of approving policy 101 and 101.1?
So made.
The motion, okay.
Did I get a second, though?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, you did, by Director Olsett. So this is
me.
an amended motion.
voice
It-
completely
Okay,
after tonight.
all in favor of the amended motion, say aye.
Well,
Aye.
don't we need to discuss?
Oh, do we need discussion?
Yeah,
Oh,
you want
well-
to discuss, because nobody else.
Okay, let's have discussion. Discussion on the amended motion of removing policy 104.
The district mission is the mission in the strategic plan. Is it not, Director Cawthorn? Didn't we change it to match that?
Yep.
So it's there. And then we've already hashed this out, and then we as a board can change our strategic plan how we want. If we wanted to change it every year, we could. This broadens our scope to when we want to do it, and says whenever we can. We're just, I don't see any issues with it. We've already gone through this. I think this is the second reading. I think the way that it's written, everyone got a little bit of everything within here that they were very pleased with, especially that every 3 years or when school board members change. But the biggest thing was, I think you hit on this, was the district mission, which is exactly from the strategic plan.
Smith?
So, I guess my question, and Director Cawthorn, I'm going to lean on you and your expertise because, yes, we've heard that other districts do not have this. Director Franz pointed out that there's a couple that do. I am particularly interested in what your opinion is because we're talking about our district and whether or not you feel like this is an accurate reflection of what we intend to do with this policy. If it is the mission and you feel like that is coming from the strategic plan, then I'm fine with it as it is. But if you have thoughts that you would like to share, I'd be open to hearing them.
Yeah, just looking at MSBA, once again, it looks like they originally wrote it in 1997, and their last revision was in 2024, and that revision was just a couple date changes and things like that. So to Director Francis' point, yes, it is an older policy that MSBA has had around since 1997. With that said, once again, I think just being on the policy committee for this very short period of time, I think there's been two consistent themes with the policy committee. One is that they want to try to take what MSBA has out there and try to adopt it the best way that we can towards our policies and what Prior Lake wants to do. And the second one is that, there's a lot of, asks. It's kind of gone back and forth to, do we just want to mirror everything or do we want to kind of make it our own? And I think with this mission policy, when we talked about it at the policy committee, once again, did not necessarily have the history that, some of the districts have moved away from it and stuff like that. But I do feel that the committee felt value in the policy, saw value in having the district's mission statement out there, and understanding that it's in the strategic plan. But once again, I just think that's where some of the recommendations to cross-reference the strategic plan was to put that into this policy to then reference that. So from the committee standpoint, I believe that they felt value in the policy. And once again, I mean, it's, been reviewed every, on the cycle now, as it should. And the last time it was reviewed in 2023, and there was, I understand there was some conversation about holding off at that point in time, in regards to that. But once again, I can only speak to what the current policy committee is feeling, and they felt value in having this policy.
Right, can I respond to that just
Sure.
once? The policy was created in 1977 because I called the MSBA, and 1997 is the first time that they actually put a binder together. So it's one of the earlier policies, and when they reviewed it last year, they basically didn't make any changes, or the 2 years ago or whatever. It was put out there as a template for people who do it. Now, we have a vision, a mission, and a plan. And the reason why the vast majority of other districts stopped using it is because you cannot separate out the mission from the vision and the plan. And with all due respect, even Rochester made some significant changes to theirs and actually reposted that in there. And that was the primary reason we talked about it in 2023, and we just decided to just leave it alone because we knew we were going into, and there was already talk about getting a strategic planning committee and everything like that. So we didn't want to try to usurp that. And again, this isn't the hill I want to die on, but the thing is that the board should never, if we make a commitment to the community that we are going to have a community do the strategic plan, we shouldn't put language in there that allows us to change even only the mission and not the vision or the strategic plan. That would cause distrust with the community. And second of all, again, it's a template. All the MSBA policy chapters are templates for the most part. They've got tons of them out there that we don't use. Like I said, you don't go to the web and grab a corporate policy and just use it verbatim. It's put out there as a template. I just wanted to say that, yes, it was 1977, because I was shocked at that too. I was really shocked when I called and asked for the history of it.
Okay, I think that we hear the point, and if we are to, is there any other discussion regarding this amended motion? Otherwise, I'm going to ask for a vote on it. No other discussion? Okay, so all in favor of the amended motion of only, of approving 101 and 101.1, say aye.
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 And those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay. And so that amended motion fails 2-4, or 4-2. 4-2. So then we will go back to the original motion. If there's no other discussion, we'll go back to the original motion of approving policies 101, 101.1, and 104. All in favor, say aye. Oh, discussion, sorry, discussion.
Sorry, I just wanted to add, I'm okay with this policy, 104. I also, I wasn't here for the last discussion, but I remember at the time it stood out to me as well, in terms of the mission is included in the strategic plan, so it feels weird to review and possibly revise a mission statement without, every 3 years. And again, like because school board members changed, that just personally didn't make any sense to me. And then the mission is part of the strategic plan. So I don't have a problem with the policy. It's just that was a concern I had. So I just wanted to put that on the record.
Very good. Any other discussion?
I guess, is it just the first sentence under the review that you feel like is, because I personally like that we have a policy that states our mission, and I do like that in the policy, or that we have a policy saying we'd conduct comprehensive review of the strategic plan every 5 to 7 years, because I'm not sure that exists elsewhere for us to do that. So I think that's important. However, I'm not opposed to just striking the first sentence under review if that's how we would like to amend.
And I agree with reviewing the strategic plan every I think it's the first, I think it's even just the heading of the policy, school district mission statement. Can we change that to school district strategic plan? Because really we're talking about all of it, because you can't really amend a mission separate from a strategic plan. I guess that's where I'm getting caught on it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, I mean,
But on the strap.
Go
plan,
ahead.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
I'm
go for
sorry. It's just, it is the mission on the strap plan.
No, it is, but like we did the mission, the vision, and the strat plan
Mm.
all together. Like I look at the mission and the vision
Yeah.
statement as part of the strategic plan. So taking a mission out of it and reviewing that and possibly revising it. I mean, because reviewing it doesn't necessarily mean you revise it either, but just taking that out of something that was done as a whole is weird to me. So I wonder if it's like school district strategic plan. And then I feel like that gives us a little bit more flexibility in this policy. And then I think I think it's that first sentence that just,
So could we just say, if you want to strike out that first sentence and the second sentence, could we just have it read, the school board will conduct a comprehensive review or revision of the strategic plan, which this mission is a part of, including the beliefs and
mission,
values in the
beliefs,
community
and-
every 5 to 7 years?
yeah, something, yeah.
Well, one of my first asks was, why don't we just make it the school district strategic plan?
Right.
I mean, that makes more sense. And by the way, we've never really had a singular mission statement ever. We've never actually used this policy, per se. And, if we just said school district strategic plan, which is what a lot of other districts, matter of fact, the vast majority of them have done, they've created like a 105 instead of conflicting with a number from the MSBA. But that was my initial issue with it. That was our issue last time, and as our issue the time before that, at this board, to just get it done and get it done right. The other thing is that I would like to stay true to the process of the strategic plan and say that the board is not going to override. If we're going to review it 5 or 7 years, we're not going to override what the community put into place and actually go through the full process. But gosh, at least let's change the title.
So if I'm capturing what everyone is saying, if we change the policy name, and Director Cawthorn, will you please?
Yep, I got it.
If we change the name of the policy to say School District Strategic Plan, and then down under section 4, if we removed the first sentence and just leave the sentence, the school board will conduct a comprehensive review or revision of the strategic plan, including the beliefs and values of the community every 5 to 7 years. Does that capture?
Yes.
Can
I think that's great. I think solid.
Okay.
Could we say instead of review, because again, the slip last time was review and revise, what if will provide oversight?
The school board will conduct.
I got it open larger, I can't see it.
So we're on the second sentence.
Yeah.
The school board will conduct a comprehensive review or revision of the strategic plan, including the beliefs and values. And typically, the strategic plan is reviewed in that cadence. And this.
That is correct, in 3 to 5 years, absolutely, yes.
So.
5 to 7 years,
Yes.
actually.
So I personally don't see any issue with leaving the second sentence intact. I think it creates less confusion for us if we just remove the first sentence and change the name to School District Strategic Plan. But I want to get consensus.
I concur.
Would you like me to make a motion to?
Do we have to?
I like that.
Can we just pass it? Can we just vote on it with those?
We can.
With those adjustments?
It's a substantive change, I would
Yeah.
recommend a motion.
Would recommend a motion.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve these policies with the revisions to policy 104, changing the title to School District strategic plan and striking the first sentence under section 4.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
You also need to make a change to the strategic plan instead of the mission statement should be adopted under section 3.
That
just to
wasn't
stay
part of,
consistent.
that was, she made it exactly like the chair said, and I will second that motion.
Because now you got two different words in there, and one of them isn't even defined anymore, so that's just.
Okay.
What do you mean?
Okay, what just happened?
The first sentence under general statement of policy still
We
has the
weren't
mission in there.
We weren't talking up there.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying make it consistent in the lexicon.
Yeah, no, exactly. So this, under 2, the school board believes that a strategic plan should be adopted to
Right.
match our title. So that's actually a good catch. So I think, because this before was about the mission statement, this should just be strategic plan.
Now you have to make an amendment to the amendment.
Well,
She just restate the original, she never got a second.
Yeah.
We've already got, I mean, we're so
Okay.
far gone here.
I would like to make the motion to approve 101 and 101.1 as is and modify 104 with the title stating School District Strategic Plan, also replacing the word mission in section 2 with strategic plan. Three times, right? And striking the first sentence of section 4.
And do I have a second? Okay.
Beat me to it.
Everybody second.
Uncle.
Thank you. Sorry. I'm throwing stuff.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Whew, thanks, guys. That's great.
Okay, I've been
That would've
studying
been
Robert's
fun.
rules, but come on now, this is too much.
That was great.
a
Okay,
good,
moving on. That was great. Moving on
That
to
was fun.
Administrative reports. Directors, any administrative reports?
Yes, thank you very much. So as you approve the consent agenda, I'm sure that you noticed in our district retirement sections that we have a lot of retirements and a lot of folks that have put in a lot of years of service with Prior Lake Savage Public Schools. Many of them, you know, in that 15-plus years, 20-plus years, 25-plus years. And there's a couple that I wanted to recognize in regards to that. First one, Deborah Parizic. She was the Westwood Child Nutrition Manager of 32 years of service with PLSAS, and this is from Director Malone. Deborah started as a cashier at Hidden Oaks back when we used tickets for payment. She was there for 4 years, and then she went to Westwood to be the assistant manager and has been there ever since. When she first started at Westwood, it was only K through 3, and we didn't feed kindergartners. She has seen it grow to a K-5, then added pre-K, and at one point we added a whole school for her to feed when Lodel was housed at Edgewood. In retirement, she plans to do some traveling and enjoy her free time. Thank you, Deborah. The second one, selfishly, I hate to share a bittersweet moment for our HR and payroll team as I announced the retirement of our benefits specialist, Terry Schoenbauer. And here's what our HR and payroll team has to say about Terry. Terry's been much more than our benefits expert. She's always been the first person we turn to when we need to understand how we got here. Terry is the only benefits person for the whole district, was dedicated to helping every employee here at PLSAS navigate the tricky waters of understanding our benefits. That wealth of history is only matched by the compassion she shows to everyone she interacts with every single day. Terry truly puts the human in human resources. We are thrilled to see her head off into a well-deserved next chapter. The office is going to miss her compassionate and nurturing attitude that she would bring to work with her every day. We want to wish her the very best and thank her for her 16 years of dedicated service. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to just say for the retirees, thank you. And I think that the best is yet to come, right? We thank you for all your service, but the best is yet to come. Any other administrative reports? Okay. What's next? Student rep? Justin?
Hello, everybody. Thank you again for having me here today to fill in as OB. I have a couple of updates of things that have been going around in the high school over the past month of February. For academic updates, students 3rd through 10th grade are preparing for their upcoming MCA testing. A huge appreciation towards the teachers' efforts to align instruction with the new state standards. And then juniors are preparing for their ACT next month, and there's also a practice ACT coming up this Saturday at the high school. So I believe that testing date is April 15th. Our MinCaps program at the high school has continued their work on real-world applications. Specifically, our trades program had the opportunity to go to HTC Brooklyn Park campus, and our healthcare pathway visited McKenna Crossing and played bingo with the residents. So that's a little fun update from MinCaps, which I notice in the school environment that a lot of students are really appreciating that curriculum. A lot of students are really loving the implementation of MinCaps. I've only heard good things about the teachers as well. So yeah, students seem to be really enjoying it, especially at the high school now. In regards to arts, huge congratulations to the Wind Ensemble for their recent performance on February 27th and all students that participated in the all-district band concert on March 2nd. These events, again, showcase the immense talent within our behind our music department. And our anthem team captains, which is a team where we sing national anthems at our school-sponsored events and other events. They sang at the wrestling state tournament last week, which was a big deal for the choir program, as we didn't really have a big anthem team program last year, and it was a really good opportunity this year for our anthem team to sing this year at the wrestling state tournament. Our choir trip is preparing for their trip to Ireland over spring break. And it's super exciting. We just had our meeting overlooking on where we're going to go and what our itinerary is looking like. And I'm going to say that I'm excited because I'm going to be attending. But a huge props to Hanani for their amazing organization and all the work that they've put into organizing this wonderful educational opportunity for students. In regards to athletics, come support our basketball team this Friday at home. They're playing their final section, their section finals at 7 p.m. and they'll be facing Chaska. A big congratulations to themselves for their huge season by winning South Suburban Conference for the first time in school history. Another huge congratulations to the Laker gymnastics team for their impressive showing at the state tournament. The program demonstrated their incredible depth this year with 4 individual athletes placing in the top 10 of their respective events. The boys swim team capped up an elite season by finishing 4th overall in state, which is really good. In addition to this podium finish, the team set a new benchmark for the program by breaking multiple school records at the state meet. A couple of students were recognized for their contribution to the swim team this year. And as we're moving forward into our spring athletics season, captains practices are officially underway. Athletes, I can see, are going back to the gyms in the school, and they're preparing for all their spring sports. In regards to the activities that are going on at the high school, DECA, our business activity that we have at our school for students that are interested in future business pathway. A huge congratulations to our 25 DECA members who represented Prior Lake at the state competition last weekend. We're especially proud to announce that 4 of our members have qualified for the International Career Development Conference, which will be hosted in Orlando, and they will be competing at the national level in a few weeks, which is amazing to see. Mock trial. Our mock trial program demonstrated exceptional performance this year and this past weekend. A huge shout out to our second highest varsity team, Team White, which went to state this year. We saw 2 individual members earn big awards, all-state honors. Katarina von Schmidt and Rachel Vegdahl. Congrats to them for both being all-state attorney and all-state witness. Prior Lake High School placed 13th overall, which is still a big accomplishment because it's 13th out of the hundreds of mock trial programs that are in this state. Our speech team, on February 26th, our speech team hosted a big showcase at the high school. I attended this showcase, and I thought it was an incredible display of the talent that all of these kids have. And I got to see Miss Olsted's kid perform, sorry. I got to see Miss Olsted's kid perform Kenzie, and I was just brought back by the incredible talent that our speech kids have. This event was just a wonderful platform for our community to come out and view what all these students are attending every single Saturday and spending their times with. And again, we keep seeing at these competitions the same individuals placing varsity finals and championing. So we definitely have a very, very strong speech program at the high school currently. In regards to student council, we had a huge new event called Winterfest. Student council has officially wrapped up our huge February season of our winter season. Big highlight was our first annual Winterfest, which brought the community together in a hockey tournament where a lot of our varsity boys hockey players and also junior gold members and other members that wanted to play hockey came out, and we had an amazing tournament. It was a little bit cold, but they really, really seemed to enjoy it. We had live music as well, and we also had sledding, hot cocoa. We also had our Letters of Love club come out too, and we were able to also do a service project to tie in the community as well. So we're giving back to our community through those kinds of events as well. Cafeteria improvements. So in response to our evolving program, we have seen a significant increase in students bringing meals from home because a lot of students were relying on and depending upon the a la carte options at the high school specifically. So a thing that I'm right now in contact with administration at the high school is to install microwaves in the cafeteria to ensure that students have the opportunity to have a warm lunch option throughout their day, so they're not just relying off of cold food that they may be bringing from home. I think every student should have the opportunity to have a hot meal. And then we have a future development. In April, 2 individuals are running for the Minnesota Association of Student Leaders Executive Board. I, along with Sarah Youssef, 2 members of our student council, are going to be running for Minnesota Association of Student Councils vice president position, as well as the Minnesota Association of Honor Societies president position. This is something that hasn't happened in quite a few years. So to even have the opportunity for 2 individuals to be running for a position is pretty big. And we will keep you updated with any further things. But thank you again for having me today. I really, really enjoyed my little brief seat here today, and I hope that I get to contribute more in the future, and I'd like to thank each and every single one of you for having me today.
Great having you.
Yes, it's been great having you, Justin. Thank you so much. Wonderful report. Board members, board reports?
I'll
start
give a
with
shout
you?
out.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll just keep going.
Yeah.
Great job to the basketball team. And I hope they keep going because I think this is 50 years, if they make it all the way, since the last tournament. Am I right, Martha? Do you know? All right. I'm just trying to remember the thing on the wall. I think it'd be 50 years since they won a state title. I know someone's going to yell at me because I got it wrong. So, what's that?
Yeah, there
give or take. Perfect. There we go. Right. And then just another shout out to the speech team. So they've got 10 students going to the national qualifier next week in Richmond, Virginia. So great job to them as well. Just give a quick shout out on both sides of that. That's it.
Yeah, a few things. So, SEEK meeting was held February 25th. I sent the notes, but just for the public, I think the key agenda items, we reviewed the progress towards the key department goals and just highlight the mid-year reading growth for middle school students reaching the 61% toward annual target, and they've already achieved their target establishing community partnerships, which is amazing. We have these 6 work-based learning partnerships, so that's great. We discussed the transitions program quite a bit, the 18 to 20-year-old, and the new location at Greenwood, and of course the name, which we voted on earlier. Also just the projected enrollment increases over the next 3 years with that program. We celebrated some successes in the unified basketball, fourth place state finish, and the record-setting polar plunge participation in fundraising. So again, thank you to everyone in the community and everyone that jumped and fundraised and supported and did all the things. So that was amazing. And then also just discuss some of the statewide funding concerns that are potentially coming up, concerns with sped transportation reimbursement reductions, as well as potential statewide budget cuts coming forth. I also attended the 50 State Expert Fair at Hamilton Ridge, so went through there. Appreciate the invitation and the fourth graders for presenting their state projects. They were super cute and great, and that was fun. And I attended the band concert last Monday evening featuring our 6th grade bands. It was great to see their progression over the last one from the first one. They did a great job. Also, the 7th and 8th grade honor bands and the high school wind ensemble were there. Fantastic. Great job to all of the students and the staff for putting that all together. And then the finance committee, so that meeting was on the 3rd, also sent the notes to the board, but just for our community, we reviewed the same 2027 budget and staffing alignment conversations that we've had here. Also just had more general discussion around the purpose of the committee and what it looks like going forward. Committee members certainly emphasized a desire to shift toward a more advisory role and just trying to, going forward, maybe review those materials prior to things coming to the board. And just try and help strengthen governance and help with decision making. And then also discuss the transportation services a little bit at the end. I think that was really great feedback from committee members for things to consider as we're looking at the RFP and around just like vendor capacity, the performance metrics, the contract duration, and then cost comparisons versus like operating an internal fleet. So I think that's it for me.
Good. Director Olstad.
Sure. Southwest Metro last month, the biggest highlights, the strategic plan mid-year check, and everything is on track in terms of goals. So that was really, really great to see. And that we spent a lot of time on that. So it was really great to run through that new strategic plan as well. And we also updated the legislative platform, which brings me to our legislative platform, which we were able to present, a couple of us today at the MSBA Day at the Capitol. Chair Boyan, Director Smith, and I were able to go to St. Paul, spend the day there today, and meet with a few lawmakers and hear kind of the status of the session. As you know, it just started, 2 weeks ago? It was good. It was just good to be in St. Paul and be in those buildings and be there to talk to our lawmakers. And we were able to give them our legislative platform, which was adopted earlier this year, obviously, and tell them, what we're thank them for their service, first of all, and walk them through, kind of what's important to us here in Prior Lake Savage Area Schools, as well as we're acknowledging that we are not alone in some of the trials that we face here. Other districts are as well, so we went through that. And I'll leave it at that because I don't want to steal anybody else because there were 3 of us there today. No teaching and learning committee in March, so we'll meet again in April. And Justin, I think you could probably give Jeff Marshall a run for his money when he does his quarterly reports on activities. I think he should feel very threatened. I almost ran out of paper with all of my notes from your update, and you just made my heart grow 2 sizes tonight. So thank you for being here.
Good. Director France.
We didn't have a TLAC meeting this month. But I did attend History Day. It's one of my favorite events of the year and got to see all the students and, of course, congratulated the students that did make it to state. It's hopefully that's one of the things that we can continue to grow because it is a fantastic learning opportunity. MenCap Shark Tank, they are in line for starting all of their test products and ideas and stuff like that for their Shark Tank. So if anybody's interested in volunteering to judge or help a team, just contact the MinCaps team. But that's always a good thing to come visit every year, and the ingenuity from those students at the end of the year from what they did and asking for investment dollars for their products is, it's just a combination of entertaining and wow. These kids really do a phenomenal job, as well as you learn a lot. Scale, this last Scale meeting, Dr. Thomas was there, and we have an upcoming one. It's not this Friday, is it? It's next Friday, yeah. And they had a long discussion, which actually was carried on into talking with legislators about the cost shifts from the federal government back down to the state and to the counties. And the school districts, the Health and Human Services was there, Dr. Lager from Belle Plaine, and the Association of Minnesota Counties, Matt Hilgert, was there also. And there's a lot coming down on us from the decrease in federal funding and the redistribution from last year's state legislature that they are currently campaigning for policy changes, particularly with the unfunded and underfunded mandates. This is not a board-sponsored thing, but this year we did have 7 individual members that went to the State Science and Engineering Fair from Prior Lake Savage. The state finals is going to be for those who made it out of regionals and applied to state, which their applications aren't due until March 16th. That state Science and Engineering Fair will be March 27th, and I think that's it. So thank you.
Director Smith?
Sure. I actually have one of these now. This is great. So again, congratulations to basketball and speech teams. And as a first-time plunger, it was great to be involved in that event and be able to plunge for the first time with so many people. So that was fantastic. Did spend the day at the Capitol. Yes. Wow. That was an incredible experience. It was surreal. It was kind of not overwhelming, but I mean, it was just what a space to be in. So yes, was able to meet with some of our legislatures and advocate for our legislative agenda. I also thought the opening panel discussions were very enlightening as well. And just because it was talked about quite a bit in one of those panels, I do just want to talk about one of the priorities from MSBA, which was the Permanent School Fund Constitutional Amendment, because this is tied to revenue, and that is something that I think we're all keenly interested in. But it does require a constitutional amendment because right now it is not in statute. It is laid out in the Constitution of Minnesota. And what this would do is support a constitutional amendment to adopt a change to that model for a 4.5%, gosh darn it, now I lost what the acronym stands for, POMV, Permanent School Fund. Basically, it increases the ability for the legislature to stabilize education funding without raising taxes, and it doesn't require them to approve more funding because it's already something that exists. This is something that I am very, very interested in, and I think it is, again, one of those things that we talk about as being a piece of the puzzle, not only from a local perspective of how do we solve this particular problem, but also at the state level. So if this is something that is something that we can look at, I'm definitely all for that. One other thing is that it can be adjusted if needed. So right now, because it's a constitutional amendment, you really can't do anything, but if it were in statute, it would give the legislature a little bit more flexibility in terms of managing that fund, and it is right now $2.2 billion, but it only distributed about $62 per pupil because there's a lot of things tied to it that it has to do first. So constitutional amendment, for the permanent school fund. I'm going to be talking about it, and because it's a constitutional amendment, it's going to be complicated, so just know that that's out there. I was also able to attend the Finance and Operations Committee, my first one, super exciting. So I won't go over everything that Director Mason went over. I will just say that, there were some things kind of related to the budget and the timing and the process that Director Ryder kind of stepped through in terms of just making sure that we can manage those conversations with staff who are going to be affected by these decisions before it comes to this table and is made public record. So it is just a service to those people that are going to be affected by those decisions to make sure that they are going to be informed about them first, and this isn't the first place that they are going to be hearing about those decisions. So that was a good thing to always remember when we're talking about cuts and budgets, that there are employees tied to those. The other interesting thing was just an example about making sure that the special education data reporting application, CEDRA, right? So again, just another unique thing, but that has to match the financial statements in the accounting system. So it is it fair to say it's redundant a little bit, but it's just, there are some things there that require the accounting system to match CEDRA, and that is additional work that is put on the district because it is required. So again, it's just those types of things that are remembering that it's not just forecasting, it's not just presenting a budget, it's not just financial statements, but there are reporting requirements that go along with this that have to match that accounting system. I also toured one of my district buildings, so I was able to go to Edgewood. No offense to the high schoolers, but I will spend all day at Edgewood with the pre-K kids because my gosh, does the day go fast. So it was so great seeing, again, since I'm so recently there, a lot of familiar faces to some folks that help support my boys, but also just the amazing work that they're doing there. I also got to talk with Gina Miller about their school continuous improvement plan, their SKIP plan. And some of the things that they're working on are early literacy development. So again, that whole demonstrating meaningful progress in literacy development so that when we get to K through 3, they are able to start comprehending some of those things. So the goal is to move 3's preschool from 50 to 70% meeting or exceeding expectations with early reading, and then the 4's preschool already has really strong literacy benchmarks, but the goal is still to advance that from 88% meeting or exceeding to 92%. And there's a number of things that they're doing there. Coaching cycles for teachers, in speaking to optimizing resources, they're able to utilize a portion of a teacher's FTE towards that work so that it is more peer-focused and peer-driven instead of kind of being an evaluation. They're doing some piloting some supplementing with the LETTERS program, and just implementing various systems to streamline and maximize the staff time so that they're not having to spend time ordering things, but they can spend time in the classroom working with their kids. The one last thing was, when we talk about community partnerships, really want to grow their outreach to the community, specifically when it comes to screenings and being able to go to different family outreach events. So partnering with community childcare providers, offering on-site early childhood screenings. There is a desire to kind of strengthen those community partnerships and get some stronger family engagement. So there's a lot of really great things that they're working on over at Edgewood, and very, very pleased to see the progress that they're making.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you, board members, for your board reports. I will skip mine because I feel like you guys did so great. I think the only thing that I would like to add is gratitude. Gratitude for the day with our legislators. They have a hard job, and I also have gratitude for all of us that, it's not easy sitting in the seats, but it's good work, and so I just wanted to extend gratitude. With that, we'll go to future events. Future events include the next study session is March 23rd at the DSC here at 6 o'clock. There is no school, grade E through 12 on March 30th, and then no school, grade E through 12 for spring break, March 31st through April 3rd. And with that, I am going to state for the record that pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.03, this meeting is being closed to discuss negotiation strategy. Do I have a motion and a second to adjourn and transition into a closed meeting?
So made.
By Director France and Director Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0, and we will adjourn, take a 5-minute break.